Good evening, everybody. I'm calling to order the regular meeting of the Folsom City Council for January 23rd, 2024. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Council members Rohrbaugh.
Here.
Aquino.
Here.
Chalem-Cherla.
Here.
Rodriguez.
Here.
And Kozlowski.
Also here. If everybody will please join me for the national anthem. Or, excuse me, Pledge of Allegiance. I'll sing, you guys do the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I moonlight as a basketball announcer and had to do the national anthem last night. So. All right, are there any agenda updates?
No updates tonight, Mr. Mayor.
All right, well, we can go directly to our scheduled presentations then.
Your first scheduled presentation this evening is going to be recognition of the 2023 Folsom Holiday Lights Contest winners.
Good evening, Council. Just give me 1 second. All right, good evening, Mayor Kozlowski and City Council members. I'm Chris Shepard, Communications Officer with the city. Tonight, we're going to recognize the winners of the 3rd annual Folsom Holiday Lights Contest held in December of 2023. More than 55 entries this year were received in 5 different categories. And the promotion allowed the community to tour the merriest and brightest homes and businesses in Folsom. All participants were plotted on an interactive map on the webpage. We saw really high engagement this year with the promotion on social media, reaching over 45,000 views. And also new this year, we teamed up with the Folsom Times. The Times collected over $3,500 in prizes from local Folsom businesses that were split between the winners. And then they had ads and articles that reached over 160,000 readers. So promotion went amazing this year. The 5 winners received commemorative lawn signs and bragging rights from the city of Folsom, and like I mentioned, a prize pack from the Folsom Times. The winners were also recognized in the Times, the city e-newsletter, and on social media. Each category was judged by a different Folsom City Council member, and tonight each winner will be recognized by the council member responsible for that category. So first up is the Holly Jolly Resident, Best Overall Residence category that was judged by council member Anna Rohrbaugh. Councilmember Rohrbaugh will recognize Ashley and Johnny from 530 Flower Drive.
Hey, open the door for me. Do I need to say anything?
No, not for you. Just a quick.
Is it this mic? I am going to say something really that mic's not open. I am going to say something really quick. It was like so hard between you and I forget the other address, and I was about to email Chris. Okay, can there be 2? But then I thought with the prizes and everything, but you guys were phenomenal. You filled every single inch. I hope people went and looked at it, and you can't really see it in a picture super well, there you go. But it is like every single inch of that lawn, so congratulations. Thank you.
Okay, in the second category, it's a Hollywood Christmas, Best Use of Fictional Characters category, which was judged by Vice Mayor Aquino. And Vice Mayor Aquino will recognize Sean DeGraff from 152 Whitmer.
And I made my husband drive around with me and kind of narrowed it down to 2. And then he saw that one and he said, the Minions win. So congratulations. We taking a picture there? Yep.
All right, next category is Clark Griswold, the best use of holiday lights that was judged by Councilmember YK Chalem-Cherla. And YK will recognize Richard and Helen from 360 Lidstow Drive.
Oh, yay. These are my friends.
thank you all for being here to congratulate them. I know how much work each and every, the person, homeowner, put their best to decorate their house. And every year, I look around, I go second time to judge. I want to make sure I don't want to be going wrong. This year, I went third time along with my wife. So those are very half a point narrative. So that's why I'm asking, our team next year at least to put the second place, third place. It's a so narrative, right? We want more people here. My friend, you guys have done amazing job. Look at that. Where is that? It's entire house, even on the tip of the tree is a lights going on. Thank you again for doing and bringing the joy for our town. Congratulations. Thank you.
So really quick to the Gomez family, really quick, how many years have you been doing this?
22 years.
Yes, I remember that from last year.
You should get another category for
Yeah.
spirit.
Largest cherry picker necessary.
And next category is Merry and Bright Business, which was judged by Councilmember Rosario Rodriguez. Rosario will recognize Bayside Church at 890 Glen Drive, and I'm not sure if a representative is here for them or not. Anybody? No? Okay. Yes.
Or even anyone going to the Bayside Church? Yeah.
Just want to give a, is it on? I just want to give a shout out to Bayside because they really do an amazing job of getting involved with so many of our community events. And every Christmas, they are heavily engaged in decorating the historic district and decorating their area. So to Bayside Church, congratulations.
And finally, literally one of the biggest categories, which is Illuminate the Block, the best multi-house display. That was judged by Mayor Mike Klazowski. And Mayor Klazowski will recognize Jean, Jillian, Dale, and Bentley from Ledgemont Court. Ooh.
No, I see her.
Congratulations again. Way to go. Way to go. Very good. It should be legendary court because it's every single year it's an event unto itself to actually visit these holiday lights. So congratulations once again on a magnificent job, and I'll let you guys hold that.
Oh, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. 25 years? Okay, so they're in for 25 years so far also.
Wow, that's awesome.
And that concludes the Folsom Holiday Lights Contest presentation. Thank you.
And can we just give a shout out because Bill and Adam from Folsom Times
Yeah.
are here in the back? If we just give them a big round for all the prizes.
And Chris, I just wanted to
Thanks.
thank you for all your coordination and promotion of this great program. Thanks.
Yes.
Okay, so last year when we judged that, I had to try and figure out what to do about the blue trees display on the other court because it really does deserve another category. Because literally they must use a 90-foot crane to be able to put the lights on those trees. All right. Moving on.
Okay, your next item this evening is your second scheduled presentation. This will be the Folsom Tourism and Economic Development Corporation, known as TEDCOR, quarterly report.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Joe Gagliardi, President and CEO of Choose Folsom. I wanted to give you an update on what's been going on with the Tourism and Economic Development Corporation. As many of you know, within the next 48 hours, there'll be a kind of an exciting announcement about a new business coming to Folsom. It'll complete 5 of 6 in the sector of business, the largest providers of that kind of service. So stay tuned, as I think the mayor will be making that announcement, hopefully. Secondly, I'd like to say that one of the prominent properties in Folsom that is often requested, what is going to happen is actually an escrow. So stay tuned for that in the next 30 to 60 days, that particular establishment may be changing hands and be in for some significant remodels, which is all exciting. I'd also like to share that in Lake Forest Technical Center on site, a company that provides robotics for solar panels has signed a lease, come back to Folsom for about 14,000 square feet in an office building that is presently vacant. Laura Fickle has been, as you know, works for us and has been leading the charge for the 50 Economic Alliance, and they're doing some great work. Most notably, they set up several councils or roundtables, in particular around commercial real estate brokers, around technology companies, and soon to be in the healthcare industry, to bring them together to see what we can do to provide innovation and connectivity to the healthcare industry. On other fronts, relative to tourism, I think we've shared with you before that we are really busy underwriting events. Coming this weekend is the Linnea Festival, which books over 400 rooms in our hotels for theatrical type training. We also are helping to underwrite the Dragon Boat races that are coming in April, triathlon, Run the Parkway, car show, paddleboard event, and the CIM. So we're looking for more, but most importantly, we've engaged in a tourism study, an asset and a destination study. There's 5 elements to that study. 2 have been completed. We've been briefed on those. We'll be able to provide to you all 5 of those, but the first 2 are youth and outdoor recreation and adventure amenities, and we got some really great positive feedback on gaps where maybe possibly that could be a niche for us here. And secondly is a boutique hotel and conference center. So the ones still to be completed will be entertainment venues, whether an entertainment venue is something that can be done here in Folsom. Secondly is indoor recreational facilities. And lastly, the opportunity for us to look at certain kinds of special events that might attract people to our community. On the chamber front, you may have noticed that we completed painting the long needed depot. The owners of Sociology have been selected to operate the general store in there. We haven't had a formal launch. They've had a soft launch, but stay tuned for their grand opening as they create a barista school in the middle section along with products and services both branded for Folsom or locally made. Project Momentum at Granite School is funded by the ARPA grant, and we're pleased to say that the interior remodeling is completed for the section that will house the people that are part of that program, a shared workspace, and then programming. And we're developing new investors through third Thursday pitch night. So we're connecting, and over $4 million has been funded into startups through that effort on third Thursday. So we're creating our own environment here, our own ecosystem for startups, and creating our commitment is 30 businesses and 200 jobs in the next 3 years coming out of there. I also would like to say that we're working with Folsom Lake College on workforce. There's been gaps, especially in the healthcare industry, so we're working in concert with Folsom Lake College. They're having Groundhog Day to encourage students to learn more about different industries. As you know, I sit on the River District Citizens Advisory Committee. A lot of visioning has come out of that. We've worked through several elements of that. The one thing that I would like to say is that we determined through that effort that there's a demographic that was not included in that, and that is young people. So we've utilized our Folsom's leading young professionals and asked them to provide some input on that. I'm sure you all know that there's an interactive map on the city's website where you can go in and provide your input, and I would encourage not only you but your networks to do that, so because all of that information is vitally important. It would be nice if we might include, consider expanding the boundaries of the River District to include public and private property. When the organizing committee submitted it for the general plan, we included some adjacent properties. State Parks and the Bureau of Reclamation are very particular about what happens on their property, and we can talk all about what we'd like to see there. But the adjacent properties are the ones that might have opportunities, whether it be publicly owned by the city, like the Corporation Yard, or if it's adjacent private property, even across Folsom Boulevard. Those are opportunities that would help us be able to make it a destination and access to the lake. As for, I sit on the Central Business District, or CBD as they call it. We did have one property owner recommend that we just continue calling it CBD since that's not what's offered there. And so I have now coined it Midtown because CBD doesn't fit well. So, you know, as you know, it has old architecture, maybe some strained circulation, vast parking lots, and really an area for opportunity. And as that committee continues to move forward, I think there'll be some great ideas come out of there. But I would like to talk a little bit about the office market. So as you know, you've read in the papers about the trends in the office market here in Folsom. We're pretty fortunate that our vacancy rate is not as high as it is in our adjoining neighborhood communities. But I don't know if you had a chance to listen to the 60 Minutes episode about 10 days ago where they talked about in New York City, there's 95 million square feet of office empty. And with the trend for having working from home, the needs for businesses is less. Now, those companies that signed leases in 2018 before the pandemic are coming up on the end of their 5-year periods. So what happens there is they tend to renegotiate their leases and either consolidate or abandon their future leases. Then what happens is the landlords don't have anyone to fulfill it, and what's happening in New York City is they're going BK. And what happens is the banks take it back and sell it at 40% of the value. And the point of that I'd like to share with you here of why we should pay attention is in New York City, they're saying when they sell it at 40% of the value, it is only logical that the property tax and 40% of that would go down as they have it reassessed. I think it's something we need to keep our eyes on relative to the office market, maybe reuse of those, but how that could affect us. Right now, we're fortunate that that's not happening. We do have a couple things that are happening. We're having some companies that may have 40,000 square feet somewhere else in the region and like to come to Folsom, but they're coming for 5,000 or 10,000 because of the amenities nearby. So far, we're surviving, but I would keep our eyes on that as it evolves.
And so, Joe, really quick, are you seeing that the cities near us are experiencing that? Because I read an article about San Francisco is having a similar problem with the high vacancy of office space.
So Rancho Cordova has a significantly higher vacancy rate
Yeah,
than we do.
I read that, yeah.
Yeah, and so, you know,
Yeah.
it's something to keep our eyes on for sure, you know, and be concerned about. But, so what I wanted to talk a little bit about is some tools that we can use for economic development. And I realized as I was preparing my remarks tonight that none of you were around when we had redevelopment. And I don't know if you know how redevelopment works exactly, but when there was redevelopment agencies, which were disbanded in 2011, there was a boundary around an area in a city that was considered the redevelopment agency boundaries. And within that, the redevelopment agency, which is a body of the city, would receive 1% of the property tax. None of it would go to the school district, mosquito district, county, or anything. That money could be then used to be invested in that area. 80% of it was for economic development, 20% of it was for housing. Those tools provided us some really unique opportunities. We wouldn't have the parking garage in the plaza in the historic district if we didn't have those funds. We wouldn't have been able to revitalize Sutter Street if we didn't have those funds. We wouldn't have been able to connect Glen Drive from Folsom Boulevard to Sibley Street if those funds were not available. How those funds were used. Today, we don't have any source of funds to do that kind of work. So, when I heard the city council meeting last week and you were talking about the potential for a special sales tax, and I heard some rumblings about the potential of, it didn't rate very high for economic development, it caused me pause to say, you understand that we need a revenue source in order to do that. Now, while the electorate may not know what it's used for, I think it's incumbent upon us to educate people about how it can benefit. If a second parking garage is to be constructed in the historic district, a funding source such as this is needed. If we want to revitalize the central business district, or Midtown as I call it, we need a source of funds to be able to provide that. There aren't any today. And so those kinds of vehicles would allow us from an economic development standpoint to to turn things around in areas that we might not otherwise be able to do. In order for us to be a great city, we need to be able to do these things. And I would encourage you to think about that, whether we want to do a sales tax or not, but to think about public-private partnerships, opportunities for us to be aggressive because our neighbors are. And if we want to remain being a great city, we need to think in those kinds of terms. And I would encourage you to have workshops on it, to talk about what your priorities are so that we can go out and execute that to take us to the next level. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have one question and one comment. I also have long said that the Central Business District ought to be renamed because it's more than just businesses. We actually do have housing in there. And I think that could be a really, Midtown works, but I think also the Central District or City Central or something that could be kind of a fun, like a public thing where we put out a call to, hey, put out your
District McDistrict phase?
put out your suggestions and the residents vote on it. But what are
They did circulate a naming through the committee.
okay, good. What are you hearing from our hotels in terms of, I believe the governor has said no non-essential travel. So I think we've lost some reservations because of conferences being canceled. Are you getting a lot of feedback about that?
So, what happened pre-pandemic is, just a little bit about our hotels. There's 8 hotels, about 900 rooms. They're primarily corporate rooms. So in other words, they have a king-size bed and a desk versus 2 queens, which would be considered more for families. So, and so our trend was Sunday through Thursday, we were running better than 70% occupancy, and the weekends were where we were putting our effort to attract people. After the pandemic, that flipped, and now Fridays and Saturdays are running better than 70% with a little lower average daily rate, but our Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday are struggling, and Wednesdays are improving. So the corporate travel is affecting us. So part of this tourism study is to identify what niches might be able to fill those if corporate travel doesn't come back.
And I'm sure as a restaurant owner, that's exactly the trend that I have experienced. We used to be dependent on just that Monday through Friday corporate travel, and we're seeing way less of that now, and a lot more busier on the weekends. So yeah, it's interesting.
Krista, how do I get to that slide that was?
It's minimized on the screen down there, and if you see the PowerPoint. Yeah, Stacy, it's open, it's just minimized.
That's none of mine.
Some of yours? Okay. Was it a PowerPoint?
It's a PowerPoint.
It's just a one.
It's not this one?
That's it.
Yeah, the next slide. So,
I got it. I've got to send it up there.
okay. So I reached out to Cosma to ask them to put together a little bit of facts about what the benefits are if you develop certain kinds of properties and what the revenues that could be generated to the city are. And so you can see from this that if obviously a car dealership is golden, but so is a upscale hotel. You can see the type of revenues that can be generated from that. But it takes all of these. When someone stays in a hotel, the multiplier effect of someone staying there is they'll dine and spend their money in retail, et cetera. So the only way hotels, right now financing for hotels are difficult, but the only way hotels tend to come into the market is when the market is resting about 70% on a Monday, 7 days a week at least, or something like that. Then they see that there's a niche to come in. And so that's kind of where we are now, is trying to fill those weekdays so that the demand goes there that will attract more hotels.
What do you think the demand for hotel space will be like when the medical complexes are farther along? Because one of them was intending to have a hotel as part of it.
Yeah, I think it depends on what kind of facilities they offer. To my knowledge, only one of them is planning a hospital. And so and, you know, as you know, it takes 8 to 9 years to get a hospital approved in California, and there's nothing submitted yet.
Sure.
So, you know, there is that micro hospital where they're building essentially kind of a hotel, but you go in for surgery and you go in and you stay less than 24 hours. It's kind of a hotel. I don't know that you can put a TOT on that. I'm not sure about that.
I guess I was just thinking those medical type businesses, do they end up generating any of that weekday traffic for meetings and things like that?
I'm sure
You're
with,
aware of.
with the amount of employment that's going to come as a result of the healthcare hub, there certainly would be. But just to kind of give you a little flavor, you know, some of the recommendations on outdoor recreation are mountain biking opportunities where people would come for competitions if we had a course, pickleball courts, you know, other things that allow you to attract people that would stay for multiple days.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Joe, quickly, I just want to thank you and your team also for opening up the chamber membership to all businesses in Folsom. I think it is 4,900 businesses we have. They all can join as a complimentary, no charge.
That's a result of the pandemic where you asked us to communicate with all the businesses, and that's how the model came about. So thank you.
Yes, it is working. When we were going through the business walk, you know, last quarter, you know, people are excited to learn about, you know, what's going on in Folsom. And you being the business focal point for entire Folsom small businesses and big, it's very important for city administration as well.
Thank you. I'll
Just
pass it
wanted-
on to the team. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, certainly. There was one thought in my mind, but I lost. That's okay. I'll call you. Thank you again.
All right. Any last comments from other council members? All right, great. Let's move on to business from the floor. This is the time of the meeting when anybody can comment on topics that are not already on the agenda. Do we have any requests to speak?
You have one request to speak under business from the floor, and that's from Deborah, it looks like Robertson? Robertson,
Come on
sorry.
down.
Come on down.
And I think there's a second coming from Mr. Reynolds there. And as per our standard, we give everybody 3 minutes to
Okay. I'll
make
be
whatever
quick.
presentation they would like.
Good evening, City Folsom Council and community members. My name is Deborah Deanne Roberson. I am a retired adjunct faculty member from San Diego Community College District, as well as career counselor. I'm here before you today as a 2-year resident of the city of Folsom. I was just a bit, not just, but I was very, very shocked that there was no Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. parade within the city of Folsom. I would like to request a resolution, a future resolution, that there be consideration for a resolution for an annual Dr. Martin Luther King parade as a way of bringing diversity, inclusion, and equity to the city of Folsom, California. The second resolution I would like to request is for a Department of Diversity and Inclusion in the city of diversity. I didn't see one in my research in the first or the second year that I've been a resident of Folsom, California. That's all I have to say. Is there any questions, concerns?
Thank you very much for your recommendations.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker under business from the floor will be Mike Reynolds.
Council, good evening. Mike Reynolds. So I want to revisit a topic that came up, it was maybe several years back, and it deals with the recusal criteria for the HDC. Unlike the other, I'll call it planning commission, city commission, the HDC is a very obviously compact area, and so it seems like the current recusal criteria allows too many absences, I guess, when some of these tough votes have come to the council. And so what I'm asking is, at least the one that's primary, is the removal of the distance criteria, the 500 feet, because it seems like, almost no matter where you are, whatever issue comes up, that 500 feet comes into play, and we've, lost several commissioners because of that. And the other one that you might consider, which depending on how you look at the conflict of interest criteria, would be something like income, because there's an example of Commissioner Descalos, who has Gaslight on the 700 block. If another business that wants to do a liquor license, does that create a conflict of interest to him? But yet him being a long-term member of the street, he has good insights. And so if he has to recuse himself, what constitutes that kind of conflict of interest? Because there is certainly an income piece of that might show up. But anyway, that would be my request, to have City Attorney Wong look at that and see if we might at least remove the distance piece and kind of narrow it down so we can have more of a full council when a lot of these issues come up. That's it.
Excellent.
Thank you. With no further request to speak under business from the floor, that takes you to your consent calendar.
Excellent. Anybody like to pull either of the three items for discussion, or I'll entertain a motion?
I'll move consent items 3, 4, and 5.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Would you please call the roll?
Yeah, council members Chalem Chella,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Rorba,
Yes.
Aquino,
Yes.
and Kozlowski.
Yes.
All right, your first new business item this evening is going to be item number 6. This is ordinance number 1342. This is an ordinance adding subsection D to section 236050 of the municipal code pertaining to design immunity. This will be introduction and first reading of the ordinance.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, Stephen Wong, City Attorney. I do not have a presentation for you, but I would like to introduce the item. This item pertains to the city's ability to raise the defense of design immunity when the city is sued for dangerous conditions of public property. You are well aware of those cases. Then design immunity under the government code is a powerful defense for cities to use, and we have, partly due to the large number of lawsuits filed against public agencies over the past few years. The city's risk pool, the Northern California City Self-Defense Fund, has requested that its member cities adopt an ordinance to formally document and preserve the design immunity defense, hence this item. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
What is the basic nature of that defense? What do you argue when you claim that?
Very simply, this is why the design immunity is so powerful for cities. One key criteria is that the design of this structure, whatever that capital improvement may be, it could be a street, a highway, a bridge, a building. If the design itself was approved by a city engineer or the city council, then it's presumed to be reasonable. The design is presumed to be reasonable. And hence, in many situations, we're able to defeat those lawsuits. It's reasonable, hence it's not dangerous. It's not hazardous.
Reasonable in light of the fact that a design professional with license to do that job designed it and it complies with building standards and
Code
codes.
standards, exactly, yes, sir.
Excellent. Okay. Any
Yep,
questions?
good question.
I do. It mentioned public works specifically, but would it not apply to something like Parks and Rec also?
It's infrastructure, correct.
Okay.
Such as a park that was properly designed and signed off with an engineer's stamp.
Okay, because it
Yes,
seemed like it
ma'am.
only referenced the Public Works Department.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah, most times it does involve public works.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, good question.
I'm good.
No questions? Do you need a motion?
Yeah, I can move adoption of, or let's see, introduction and first reading of ordinance number 1342.
I'll second.
Okay. Do we need to take public comment on this at all?
You have no request to speak on this item.
Okay, excellent. We have a motion to approve or a motion to approve the first reading and a second.
Yeah, council members Chalem Chella,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Rorba.
Yes.
Aquino.
Yes.
And Kozlowski.
Yes.
Okay, your next item this evening is item number 7. This is resolution number 11159. This is a resolution to declassify 5 landmark trees within the Joint Powers Authority Landmark Grove. This is to allow for removal as part of the Sacramento Regional Transit's light rail modernization 15 minutes to Folsom project.
These are the same trees we talked about last time, right?
Yes. Good evening, Mayor Kozlowski, members of the council. Amy Nunez, your urban forester and city arborist. I'm here before you this evening to bring forward for your consideration an application to declassify 5 trees that were designated as landmarks back in 1999. The applicant for this request is Sacramento Regional Transit District. And some background on these particular trees. These 5 trees are located along the JPA corridor that runs adjacent to,
You should actually shut that mic off. It's, if you can, just the switch on the mic. Thank you.
so these trees are located along Folsom Boulevard on the JPA. Back in 1999, the Friends of Folsom Parkway thought these trees were worthy of landmark status. The entire line of trees running from Blue Ravine to Bidwell Street, they argued that the trees had historic value and habitat value, and the City Council saw fit to pass a resolution bestowing landmark tree status on all of these trees. The associated staff report for this resolution did not acknowledge the possibility that some trees in the future might have to be declassified to allow for future light rail projects. Just some quick photos of the trees along the corridor, and then a quick reminder of what a landmark tree is. A landmark tree is a tree that's been recognized by the City Council because it contains one of these attributes: historical value, outstanding habitat, unusual species, or superior beauty. This tree in the picture here is a 69-inch valley oak. That is one of our landmark trees.
But it's not coming down.
No, not this one. This is just an example of a landmark tree in the city of Folsom. This tree is not going anywhere. We do keep a registry in the Community Development Department. Landmark trees can receive some support and maintenance from the city, and they also receive an added level of protection in that in order to remove a landmark tree, City Council has to declassify them. So the reason why we are receiving this application to declassify the trees, the council did receive a kind of overarching presentation from Craig Norman from SAC-RT at the last meeting. Between Park Shore Drive and Bidwell Street along the JPA corridor, they're going to be realigning the existing track a little bit and adding a second track. And with that project, there are 5 trees that were initially identified within the new train footprint that are going to have to be removed. And the ultimate result of this project is to reduce waiting times for trains from 30 minutes to 15 minutes. This is just a cross-section from the application that was submitted to demonstrate what they're hoping to accomplish. The picture on the right here is showing the current track, and then they're going to be adding a second track adjacent to it. The first initial trees that have been identified are here on this slide. 4894, 4893 are small trees that were in the way of construction access. And then those 3 trees up north are in the footprint. SAC-RT has been working with staff to save trees and prune trees where possible, but these 5 in particular were identified as in the way of the project as it's currently designed. There was an environmental review, and the mitigated negative declaration did find that there was a less than significant impact to tree resources so long as SAC-RT mitigated for the trees in accordance with local jurisdictional policy, and they are proposing to mitigate for these trees through payment into our tree planting fund by paying the in lieu fee. Some considerations the council should be aware of is to declassify a landmark tree, a finding has to be made. Those 3 possible findings are the health of the tree, does it no longer have any habitat value, or is the tree preventing reasonable use of the property? And it is that 3rd finding that SAC-RT is arguing for with this application. Financial impact to the city, they've paid their application fee, and again, they're going to be paying their mitigation in lieu fee. And just a 3rd consideration is late last week it was discovered that when they marked the ground and reassessed the situation for their new train footprint, they did identify additional trees that are going to have to be removed. And so the council should expect an additional resolution at a future meeting date to identify those trees. So with that, staff does recommend adoption of Resolution 11159 with the expectation that the trees will be removed and mitigated for. I do believe we have a consultant here tonight to answer any questions about the project itself and its evolution. And with that, that does end my presentation, if you have any questions for me specifically.
The largest of those trees, is it
21 inches in this round. In the next round, there's another 21-inch tree that's going to have to be removed. We also did identify a 28-inch tree, so almost a heritage status tree. We're going to try really hard to preserve the tree, but it's going to sustain a pretty heavy impact from pruning and
Do you mean 28 feet?
28 inches.
Inches?
So we're talking the diameter
what-
of the
thank you.
trunk, yeah.
and just general proximity of the trunk to the tracks? I know that drip line is the kind of place where you can be reasonably assured that the tree will remain healthy, but are we talking well inside the drip line on these trees?
Yeah,
That's too bad.
yeah.
Okay, do we have any requests to speak on this item?
You have no request to speak on this item.
Mayor, I have a comment.
Fire away.
Thank you, Mayor. Amy, I know we did talk in our agenda review also. Since we are removing, quite a bit of nice canopy, and we all know Sacramento and Folsom, that peak summer, 110 degrees, 150 degrees. So we can sincerely request SACRT to put some shade trees, that way, the fast-going shade trees. Definitely, they're paying in lieu fee. I'm fine with that. I have a separate question, Mayor. I'm going to bring on that in lieu fee. If we can encourage them or request them to put more shade trees, which can go faster and give more shade to those riders, especially riding back and forth during the peak summer time. That's a request. And one more thing, I think it got into my attention on page 8, slide 8. Yeah, I see $250 for each tree they are removing as an in lieu fee.
That is per inch of trunk diameter. So for example, a 10-inch diameter tree would be a $2,500 mitigation fee.
Thank you. Because to grow a tree, certainly it's not $250.
It's a time
We all
investment
know.
for sure, yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you again.
Right. Any other comments? All right, I'll entertain a motion if there's one.
I'll move, what is one here? I'll move resolution number 11159.
A second on that?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Would you please call the roll?
Council members Chalem Chella,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Rohrbaugh.
Yes.
Aquino.
Yes.
And Kozlowski.
Reluctantly, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So next item is your new business item number 8. This is resolution number 11160. This is a resolution approving the north alternative alignment as the preferred alternative for the Folsom Boulevard Bicycle and Pedestrian Overcrossing Project and authorizing staff to apply for grant funding through the Caltrans Cycle 7 Active Transportation Program. Hey, Brett.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I am Brett Bollinger, Senior Trails Planner. And here with me today is Tony Powers of Docket Engineering. He's the consultant project manager. So today we're presenting the Folsom Boulevard Bicycle and Pedestrian Overcrossing Feasibility Study. The purpose of the study was to determine through public comment and outreach the best location for a new bicycle and pedestrian bridge over Folsom Boulevard between Blue Ravine and Glen Drive to improve bicycle and pedestrian safety and close a gap in the Humbug Willow Creek trail system. The city was awarded American Rescue Plan Act grant to fund the study. And to just give you a background, the concept of the Folsom Boulevard overcrossing first appeared in 1994 as part of the Humbug Willow Creek Parkway Master Plan. And then in the Trails Street Crossing Study in 1998, Bikeway Master Plan in 2007, and in the 2013 update. And then finally, in the active transportation plan that was adopted in 2022, and in there it's listed as a high priority project for the city. So this is kind of the timeline of the feasibility study. We kind of first kicked the project off with a consultant team in end of 2022. Had our first focus group in March of 23. First community outreach, which was a survey, and it was a 3-week survey, online survey. Followed by our second round of public outreach, which started out with a focus group in July, and then followed by community outreach, public workshop, in-person meeting, and then also a 2-week online survey in October. And then our first stop was a recommendation from the Planning Commission to the City Council to approve the North Alternative Alignment. That was in November, and followed by the Parks and Rec Commission in December, also recommending the North Alternative Alignment. And then we also went to the River District Citizen Advisory Committee, who also recommended the North Alternative Alignment for approval by City Council. And then today we are here at City Council for the final approval. And the next steps would be, after approval of the North Alternative Alignment, would be to work with Docket Engineering on our grant application for the Active Transportation Program Cycle 7 grant funding opportunity, which applications are due in June of this year. So we first started off with 4 variations of alignments, 2 to the north of Park Shore and then 2 to the south of Park Shore. During this public outreach process, the 3-week online survey, we received over 260 responses to the online survey. Opinions varied between the preferred alternatives north or south of Park Shore. Based on input received from the first survey, along with input from the stakeholder focus group, California State Parks, Sacramento Regional Transit, and city staff, the team has considered approximately a dozen various alignments, but these were the 4 main ones that we worked towards. So after that first round of public outreach, we narrowed it down to 2, one north of Park Shore and the other one south of Park Shore. And if the alternative 3 in pink up there is familiar, that was kind of similar to the previous attempt to get grant funding for overcrossing project back in 2018, which we did not get. And part of the comments that we got from that grant application was a lack of public outreach, which was the reason that we did this feasibility study. So based on the first round, we reduced to 2 alternatives, as you can see here. In addition, we also, from public comment and just working with the consultant team, we came up with some additional circulation improvements in the area. So these 2 circulation improvements include a better connection from the Willow Creek Trail, which kind of turns south here and goes down here. So we would add a trail that directly connects to the Glen Light Rail Station. And then the other one is right here, where the Willow Creek Trail dumps you off to Woodmere. So we're proposing to do a Class 4 cycle track, and there's an adjacent sidewalk for pedestrians, and then bike lanes along Park Shore to the Lake Natoma parking lot, where you can get on the trail spur to the Lake Natoma Trail. So this is kind of up close, that connection to the SAC-RT light rail station. And then also, again, from the Woodmere to the parking lot. So we also presented design concepts as part of the second round of public outreach. These concepts were presented by Eric Burkhauser of Donald McDonald Bridge Architects, who are part of the consultant team. He came up with basically 2 concepts, the arch concept and the tower concept. The arch concept obviously had inspiration from First Nation dwellings, the Rainbow Bridge, and then, of course, live oak, which is the predominant species around Folsom. And then the tower concept from the A-frame towers in the turntable in Historic District, and then also the gold mining barges that were prominent here during that era. And then, of course, the live oak. And then these are kind of just different rendering angles of the arch concept. and then the tower concept. And so throughout the process, we were originally going to include a recommendation of the design concept to move forward with, but throughout the public outreach process, we didn't get a real consensus. So if and when we get design funding to move forward with this project, we'll include a little bit more public outreach and kind of refine the design concepts and pick one and then move forward with that in the future. So the north alternative is a combination of the original alternatives 1 and 2. As you can see, it basically would ramp up starting from the Glen Light Rail Station going south, go over Folsom Boulevard, and land in State Parks land going south. There'll be a connection to Park Shore Drive to that intersection, and then you can continue west to the Lake Natoma parking lot. And then the south alignment. This is basically the most direct closure of the gap in the Willow Creek Trail. It avoids the creek or any impacts to the creek. It's a little bit too far to be considered a direct connection to the Glen Light Rail Station. And then also the diagonal crossing of Folsom Boulevard and the ramps, the spiral ramps. They result in a longer main span for the north as compared to the north alternative. The larger span creates some complications, but also kind of provides some unique aesthetic opportunities that we could do. So after the second round of public comment, these are kind of the results of the online survey and then the feedback we got at the public outreach meeting. The most positive reaction was for the north alternative alignment, as you can see, and then as you kind of go down the line, you can kind of see that the north alternative alignment was kind of the preferred out of all the comments that we got. So based off the community input and project team expertise, the staff believes that the north alternative alignment provides the most benefits to pedestrians and bicyclists. The north alternative alignment would directly connect to SAC-RT, Glen Light Rail Station, state parks, Folsom Lake State Recreation Area, and the future affordable housing on the park and ride lot at the SAC-RT Light Rail Station, linking transit, neighborhoods, businesses, and recreational attractions to Folsom's trail system. So the recommendation is for City Council approval of the north alignment as the preferred alignment of the Folsom Boulevard Overcrossing Project and to authorize staff to apply for grant funding through the Caltrans Cycle 7 Active Transportation Program. That's all I have. I'm open for questions or comments.
Any questions for Brett?
Is this application for this grant going to take away from any other grants that we're going for?
No, this is our primary focus for this cycle.
And this grant is most likely a matching of some sort?
It's a what?
Most likely, is it a matching grant?
Yeah, so, well, it's, so they used to be a 12.47% required match, minimum match, and now they moved to, you get more points in the application process, the more match funding you provide. So the goal for like this type of project would be to kind of get close to 15% or higher of a local match for the project.
Okay.
And, you know, because this is a high dollar project, the most likely we'll probably just put in for design and engineering funding and kind of, and then start that process and then come back and go for the construction funding.
How much will this take of your time, or even to work with a consultant on how much money will that take?
The consultant is part of their contract. I believe it was around 15 grand for it, so not bad. But if I had to do it myself, these are very lengthy, complicated grant applications to fill out. So that's why we hire the consultants to do it.
So that does alleviate. My concern is we've heard a lot about why the citizens are going for an initiative, a sales tax initiative, that we need funding for all departments, for staff. So my concern is this year, is this going to take too much of our staff time when we have other things that we could be focusing on that need to be improved right now versus something that's really great and positive in the future?
No, this is, you know, very little time on my end. It's mostly, and this feasibility study also feeds a lot into that application because this feasibility shows us or shows the application reviewers all the public outreach we did, worked with the community on determining the best location for the overcrossing project.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
How many eucalyptus trees are going to have to be removed?
State Parks does not care about that, surprisingly. They were very supportive from day one, as well as SAC-RT. So they'll be providing letters of recommendation or a support for the project when we submit for the application.
Probably a net safety improvement for the roadway right there.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
What's the total cost approximately?
So I just got the total cost, and construction was between $15 and $20 million in today's dollars, and then total project cost between $19 and $28 million. Correct, Tony? Yes, in today's dollars. And when we complete the feasibility study, we'll have like an escalator of that, and so we can kind of work with that as we apply for grants and things like that.
Yeah.
Gulp.
It is. And I did see here, maybe either you or Desmond, you can help. This area, major city not this area, but this side, major city development projects are also coming. That's how we have written, this overpass helps not just the bikers who are crossing to the trails, but a major city development, just for the general public purpose, even for our
State Parks actually has, in their newly adopted master plan, they have a bunch of trails going through this eucalyptus grove and having, historical signage and stuff like that for the historic olive groves and other historic sites in that area. So we could work with them and partner with them on, design funds to design not only the overcrossing and those connections that I showed you earlier, but also to partner with them on their trails adjacent to this overcrossing project. And then once you partner with other agencies, that's also a benefit to your application that they see when you're partnering with other agencies in the area.
Right. My question is slightly different. Maybe Desmond, I'm looking at you also. 2035 master plan or our plan, is anything going on that side? Is only the bikers are using this $20 million bridge? Safety is important. Please don't take me wrong.
Yeah, there's no development project or proposal for that area. And as the work that we're doing to increase housing capacity to help implement our housing element does not include this area. It's on the north side of Folsom Boulevard.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get some meaning for that statement here, if there is any major projects coming up in any 10, 15 years.
Well, we are looking at the Glen Light Rail Station. That's the area there is a possible location for housing development, but there aren't. On the south side of the track, the south side of Folsom Boulevard, there are no development proposals that the city is looking at.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you, Brad.
I have one more. My husband, did you say 15 to 20 million?
For construction.
Right. So let's just say it was 20 million and 10%. I know you said 12 and a half to something, but it's just easy math. That's $2 million. When this comes up for a matching for that amount, is this going to have to be prioritized over fixing or, replacing Kids Play Park, for example?
No, the active transportation program grant funds are specifically for active transportation, which is bicycle and pedestrian.
The grant funds, but how about the matching funds from the city?
Oh, the matching funds. So those will either come out of my bicycle and pedestrian funds that I have.
But that's general fund, right? That's not an impact.
No, I get from Transportation Development Act. I get about. Now it's up to $115,000, $120,000 a year for that, and then there's the Humbug Willow Creek impact fee for any new residential that I use, and then there's also opportunities like SACOG has a grant that is due at the end of February to help out with regional projects, and this is actually part of the regional trail program of SACOG. So they have a grant funding opportunity to get money for design. So I'll be applying for that to kind of chip away at the cost.
Okay, and you understand what I'm going for.
Yeah, but most likely funds that could go to other things like parks and stuff like that.
Yeah, we're really
would
good
not
at
be
building,
used.
but
Yeah, yeah.
not so good at maintaining, and we need to
You know,
focus on
mostly
that.
trails does not receive really any general fund money at all. We're
Okay.
mostly dependent on grant funding and then the impact fees we get in the transportation development.
Thank you very
Act
much for your
Yep.
answers.
Any public comment?
You have no request to speak on this item.
All right.
I'll move resolution number 1160.
I'll second on that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Could you please call the roll?
Council members Chalem Chella,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Rohrbach.
Yes.
Aquino.
Yes.
And Kozlowski.
Yes.
Okay, that takes us to item number 9. This will be resolution number 11161. This is a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a citywide quarterly citizens award and recognition program.
Good evening again, council. I'm Chris Shepard.
Implement would have been a better word on this one.
I'm Chris Shepard, Communication Officer. Tonight, staff recommends that the City Council provide direction and establishment of a citywide quarterly citizen award and recognition program and approve resolution number 11161. So a little background, the Folsom City Council regularly acknowledges and celebrates the accomplishment and dedication of community members, and council meetings regularly feature presentations where organizations and individuals are honored for their achievement. On July 23rd of 2022, the city manager introduced a policy outlining the issuance of certificates of recognition and appreciation, and according to the policy, these certificates may be granted to individuals, groups, organizations, or businesses demonstrating extraordinary achievement or making exceptional contributions to the Folsom community. At the October 10th, 2023 City Council meeting, a consensus of Folsom City Council requested that the council consider a formalized process to recognize community members who have made a significant impact on enhancing the overall quality of life in Folsom. So the objectives of the proposed program are recognizing and appreciating the invaluable contribution of community members, encouraging more residents to actively participate in the community, and in strengthening the community bonds and foster a sense of pride and belonging. Under the program, each council member will nominate one recipient each quarter, resulting in the acknowledgement of 20 recipients annually. The award recipients would be honored with a certificate during a Folsom City Council meeting, and additionally, their achievements would be highlighted on the city website, the newsletter, social media platforms, and on display at Folsom City Hall. The selection criteria and program specifics for the award program would be developed by city staff, and the program would commence in 2024. There's no additional fiscal impact to the result of the proposed action. And this concludes my presentation. Any questions?
I have a couple questions. So having worked in the corporate world, you have these Employee of the Month programs that are implemented. And there are people that do, good things for, say in this case, the community, but I'm sure that these are like exceptional cases where somebody just went above and beyond. Do we have that criteria laid out so that when we start to look at people in our communities that are going above and beyond, we can say, okay, here are some of the criterias that meet that qualification for someone that goes sort of above and beyond?
Yeah, at this point, we don't have that criteria laid out, but we would be developing, with your direction, we could develop criteria specifically that needs to be met for those cases, yes.
So right now, you're looking for direction from us to say, yay, go for it?
Yep.
All right, so I am fully supportive of this personally. I think this is a great idea. I love recognizing people because our city has just so many dynamic people that truly have given for years. And I love to hear of people's contributions to this community. So you got to go on my part.
Thank you.
So I'll weigh in here because I was the one who asked that this be brought forward because I had a resident reach out to me asking if we had a way to recognize a couple individuals who have gone and continue to go above and beyond for this city. I'm not going to tell you who they are or what they do because I don't want to spoil it. We recognize them in the near future. And I had forgotten that Councilmember Chalem Sherla had asked the city manager for the certificates, which is great. But so I reached out to my District 3 lunch group that I have and got back feedback from Citrus Heights and Sacramento and Rancho Roseville that they all have this kind of program. And so I particularly like the way that Roseville has done it, which kind of emulates, ours would emulate that, whereas the certificates are kind of, if a group or a gathering is they request something, you could get them a certificate, but it wouldn't be presented at a city council meeting. These would really be reserved for people who do extraordinary work. My only hesitation is, do we want to go quarterly? Do we want to start out semi-annually or annually first? And if we think we need to go more often, we do. I don't want to take away the specialness of it by having too many recipients every year, or doing it too often. I don't want it to be labor intensive for the staff. This is really just a way to recognize people who do extraordinary things for the city.
Thank you, Sarah. You brought up all the concerns that I have too. I think 20 a year is watering it down. And the chamber does their own awards one time a year. I think it's lovely to recognize, but I agree. I don't think, taking a lot of staff time or even council time or even the people that come to our meetings often. We do a lot of resolutions already. So my biggest concern was quarterly and having 5 people. So I would rather see annually to start. I would be very supportive of that.
Maybe semi-annually, I was doing a simple math in my mind. 80,000 people in Folsom, every year 20,000. Semi-annually, probably quarterly is overkill. Besides that, I really want my colleagues and city manager to agree with my recommendation that add employee of the month also. I know you were asking a question, my good friend Rosario. If the staff was already a outstanding employee, we have almost 400, or including part-time and volunteers. There are quite a few. Bringing them the cheers, even the staff, the hardworking people, in addition to the citizens, is a good thing. I just want to put that request to my colleagues and city manager. City manager can go through her process to pick that employee to add to this group for every 6 months. That's the only thing. But I love this program. We need more people like this in city halls. I go to some of the city council meetings. I sit on my cable commission meeting. Other than staff, no one has been showing up for the last 4 years. So anything we can do creative. That way, when they are here and we are going through the agenda, they may have a creative idea. They write a blue card and come and speak. That's the best way you can communicate to city council. I love this idea. I know I was praising you when you guys were, bringing this in a positive way.
I personally would prefer that we don't commingle the citizen recognition with the city employees. We have fabulous city employees. Nobody's disputing that. They don't work for the city council. They work for the city manager. And so I would prefer to defer to her on any sort of recognition. Plus, I don't know what individual departments have in place. Certainly, there are already awards for police and fire every year. So,
no, agreed.
Yeah,
if there are something which I haven't seen in the last 3 years plus 1 month, that's the only reason I'm putting this. If there is already an existing, already going through in our city departments, I have no problem asking, but I haven't seen.
So based on that discussion, it seems like we're generally in favor of a program and are seeking more detail and refinement to what that program would be so that we can maintain it as an award for extraordinary service.
Just my 2 cents. Just my 2 cents on the timeline. I think 4 times a year might be overkill, but every 6 months I think would be great. 2 people.
But I was just
a year.
going to ask, is there consensus on twice a year?
well, the only thing I would think is, for me, I would prefer to go annually, but you're not necessarily limited to one. Because again, the people that kind of prompted this, it's kind of a package deal, right? And so I would want to recognize both of those people. So maybe once a year, but you're not necessarily limited to one. We certainly don't want you to bring 5 or 10, but if you had to do 1 or 2, that would be okay.
Okay, so kind of like Best Picture nominees, where there always are at least 5 and never more than 10?
Once a year.
Annually?
Yeah, that'd be,
I mean, that's kind of
Can
splitting
you
the
restate
difference.
that as a motion?
But one quick one though. Is there a reason why you propose quarterly after doing a survey with other cities?
Unfortunately, I can't speak to that. Christine Brainerd wrote the staff report, and she is out on leave
I
right now.
have the sense that there's not extraordinary urgency to this one, so maybe we can just ask you guys to bring back something that's a little,
I'll make a motion.
okay?
I make a motion to direct staff to do a annual recognition program, and each council member will nominate 1 to 2.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. That seems very clear.
Okay, council members Chalem Chella,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Rorba,
Yes.
Aquino.
Yes.
And Kozlowski.
Yes.
If I may clarify that, Mr. Mayor, does that mean that resolution 11161 was adopted?
With some additional instruction as to what the nature of the distribution of the awards would be.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, without the word quarterly, right?
Right. Annually.
Yeah, we got that.
Thank you.
Okay, your next item this evening, as speaker cards continue to come in on this item, is item number 10. This is an update on the Placerville-Sacramento Valley Railroad license agreement for excursion rail operations and direction to staff. Hey, Brett.
Hello, I'm here in my capacity as the CEO of the Sacramento Placerville Transportation Corridor, JPA. I'm also here tonight as Ryan Neves, he's the Folsom representative to the JPA. Mark Rackovan for city staff, and then also Deanne Gillick, she is JPA counsel. So the item today is specifically the excursion rail license for PSVRR operation within the city of Folsom only. So this is the segment of the excursion rail operations that is up for discussion today. JPA staff and city staff are sorry. Forgot about that. JPA staff and city staff are seeking your direction on how to move forward with a new excursion rail license so that we can go back to the JPA board and move forward with an excursion rail license if that's what is deemed feasible. So because the city council has the final say on what can operate on the railroad tracks within the city limits of Folsom. So currently, PSVRR, their license, excursion rail license agreement has expired at end of 2023. The excursion rail runs from Hampton Inn, just north of Highway 50, all the way to the Sacramento-El Dorado County line. They are allowed to operate to Latrobe on a case-by-case basis with permission from El Dorado County. Since 2021, the excursion rail operations have been shut down because the FRA and CPUC identified some track and roadway crossing issues. And still to this day, they are operating currently. However, they still have their special events that do operate north of Highway 50 along the tracks. And to kind of reiterate a point that we have throughout here, so far, no significant public investment has been invested in PSVR operations to date. It's all been through volunteers, donations, and revenue they get from their various events that they do. So PSVR is asking for continued operation from the Hampton Inn to Latrobe. And then also they want to move from a 5-year agreement, which has always been a 5-year agreement, to a 7-year. And then after that 7-year to move to a 10-year agreement. So these are the kind of considerations for today. And that's why we're here, to get direction on the big, the potential redevelopment of the Y property, which is the current PSVRR operations base. The connector which is the old White Rock Road, crossing impacts, that grade rail crossing, safety and cost, grade separated rail crossing, cost impacts, Folsom Plan Area Street Crossing Cost Impacts, benefits, PSVR benefits to the city of Folsom versus cost impacts, Folsom Plan Area Development and impacts of rail operations on the residents, FRA inspections, and alternatives to excursion rail services in Folsom. And I'll go over through some alternatives. But then again, no city of Folsom or significant SBTC JPA public investment to date for those operations. So this is kind of highlighting the 4 roadway crossings of the Folsom Plan area, and then the big one, which is the future southeast connector. That is currently not completely funded, so we have about 3 to 5 years, I believe, till that could be funded at the earliest. So we're seeking direction for staff and JPA staff. Should the JPA renew the license agreement with the changes requested by PSVRR? If not, in its current form, what modifications should be suggested? Operating segment, term of agreement, or other? So throughout our conversations, we've been meeting, since last year with internally the city, JPA board. We've had the CPUC meet with us to discuss at-grade crossings. And so throughout those conversations, we've come up with additional alternatives to the existing excursion rail operations. Alternative 1 is a temporary license agreement. So until the Southeast Connector is funded or under construction, we could have an agreement for them to continue operations from the Hampton Inn to the Sacramento County, El Dorado County line. That would include those 4 roadway crossings in the Folsom Plan area. So we'd have to think of either some type of temporary solution to those crossings, and we'd have to work with the CPUC on addressing that. And then this temporary license would also give us additional time to work with the CPUC on the Southeast Connector crossing if we can actually get approval for a at-grade crossing as opposed to a grade separated crossing, which would have a significant cost impacts. Alternative 2, move PSVR's base operations to south of White Rock Road, or the future Southeast Connector. There's excess property that the Southeast Connector owns down there that could be a viable operations base where they could take the excursion rail train through Sac County into El Dorado County, and then the JPA board would work with El Dorado County on getting them work assistant operations to Latrobe. Then alternative 3, Y property excursion rail. So we would repurpose this Y property with railroad history. That would continue to be PSVRR's operation base. They could operate from the Y property to Blue Ravine. That would include some crossing improvements of Glen Drive and Sibley Street, which would be a public investment for that. So that concludes my presentation. I know Mark Rackvan has some additional information to provide.
Thank you, Brett. I just wanted to add a couple of comments. Again, as Brett pointed out, there's no final action being requested here today. This is simply Brett in his capacity as Chief Executive Officer of the JPA and Vice Mayor Aquino as Folsom's representative on that JPA board, seeking this council's desires for how to proceed with this license agreement. The direction that is being sought is only relative to the excursion rail license agreement in the section that Brett highlighted. So other elements of Folsom's rail heritage are completely unaffected by the license agreement, and that includes the Historic District Turntable and the Railroad Museum, the Y property lease to PSVR, and the Station Master's House, the annual handcar derby, and then special events that are solely under the city's control, which in the past have been the annual Rail Days Festival, and then the aforementioned holiday train rides that are held up there by California Family Fitness. None of those are affected by the license agreement or anything that's decided here today. The main issue and the reason that your staff has some concerns about the license as it's being currently proposed is that the term of the license agreement that's being requested, 7, possibly 10 years, almost certainly will overlap with the development of the next section of the Capital Southeast Connector. And so that will become an issue that we have to answer at some point of how are we going to get this railroad across a high-speed 4-lane expressway. And again, as was pointed out in the presentation, we don't know yet what the PUC's official stance on that is, and we probably can't apply for that crossing application until we actually have the funding and are moving into the design phase for the connector. So bottom line is, there's very little risk to extending the license agreement, perhaps a limited term as was suggested in alternative 1. Almost certainly will not overlap with the connector project in the next 3 to 5 years. If the license agreement is extended to 7 to 10 years, that will become an issue, a planning and design issue for the connector. There is a clause in the license agreement that allows for termination of the agreement if a public project requires it to happen. So we do have that option available to us if we chose to exercise it at some point in the future.
Being the city council has that.
Well, this is an agreement between the JPA and the PSVRR, but any of the member agencies could submit a request to the JPA saying, hey, we have a project that could necessitate termination of the license agreement. In this case, if we're using the connector as an example, it could be the city of Folsom that could exercise that clause, or it could be Sacramento County because that portion of the connector actually currently is in unincorporated Sacramento County. So those are the two issues here, is just the term of the agreement and then the uncertainty about how the crossing of the railroad would be done, because that's an unfunded project. It's not in our capital improvement program. It could be anywhere from $1 million something at-grade crossing to a multi-million-dollar grade separation, neither of which is funded at this time.
I think we could do it for $15 to $20 million.
Yeah, if we design it.
I heard we have a design for that, so.
Yeah. I was a little taken aback that a simple bicycle overcrossing costs that much.
The train seems like a breeze now, right?
Yeah, heavy rail is a different animal. But anyways, thank you, sir.
All right, so if I can just challenge a little bit of what you just said, if in fact the agreement between the two agencies has that potential to be terminated in the event of a conflict with a capital project of some kind, what's the harm in extending it beyond and focusing everybody's mind on trying to avoid that eventuality?
Again, I don't think there's any harm in that. It just requires us to exercise, this legal portion of the agreement. If you have a hard stance on how the connector and the railroad should operate in the future, if you don't think it's worth public investment or that's unclear to you, you're still providing guidance to us that's going to inform our work plan over the next few years. Mm-hmm. It could inform grants that we might be able to go after, and it also informs other activities from Sacramento County, the JPA, rail advocates in the region.
And Mr. Mayor, one thing to keep in mind is the termination is not immediate. So once a notice of termination is provided, termination becomes effective 12 months thereafter. So there's a planning issue that staff has to deal with, and grant timing issue.
We're dealing with a slow speed chase though, as far as the improvements to the connector project. There's adequate time for somebody to have that kind of runway to make that request, right? And that termination. Okay, other questions for the staff?
Did you specify what, up there, the first bullet point, should the JPA renew the license agreement with the changes requested by PSVRR? Do we have a bullet list of what they're asking to be changed?
Yeah, so they want to just continue from taking passengers from Hampton Inn to the Sacramento, El Dorado County line. And then they would have to work with El Dorado County to get back into Latrobe on a more consistent basis. And then they want to move to a 7-year agreement. And then after that's done, to a 10-year agreement.
Okay. Thank you for pulling that up.
Rosario, any
I'm okay.
questions? YK, any questions?
I know there's public comments here,
There's
probably.
a lot of public comment. That's why I'm asking
That's
for
right.
questions only.
Yeah, quickly, I know you gave 3 options, Brett, here for city council. Have you disclosed those 3 options, and did you work with the PSVRR? Did you share those 3 options which you presented to us?
Yeah,
or-
we've met with PSVRR, Jim Harville. And kind of let him know that the city was considering, discontinuing the excursion rail license through Folsom. And so we did share with him some alternatives, but they were kind of just very high in the sky stuff. And then as we went through meetings with council members, we kind of came up with other concepts and things like that. But these are basically high level right now, and we'd have to do a lot of work and drill down and find out how much they'd cost, especially if we have to do improvements to unprotected roadways here in Folsom. Those costs would be if they, did excursion rail from the Y property. But these are just kind of ideas we came up with that could satisfy the replacement of that section of excursion rail operations in Folsom.
Yeah, any of those 3 are interesting to them? Maybe let me ask that question differently.
I mean, well, you have the first alternative, which is, just basically continue as is until the southeast connector is under construction. So they're all kind of different in their own way. They would still continue to operate within on their same segment. So they would just continue operations once the FRA gives us the okay that all the issues on the tracks have been addressed. And then alternative 2 is just moving them, cutting off that section in Folsom and moving them south of White Rock, and they just operate in Sacramento County and El Dorado County. But that would have to be worked out with El Dorado County because right now they only have once a year, I think, taking the excursion rail to Latrobe. So we'd have to work with El Dorado County to increase the amount that they can go there. That has issues. There's a washout in just nearby Latrobe. There's also some bridge issues that we're expecting a bridge and culvert inspection report the next couple weeks. I actually just got it in my email. I haven't looked at it yet. That will show us the additional JPA infrastructure issues that would need to be addressed to have a safe operating excursion rail along there. Okay. And then alternative 3 is just a different excursion rail segment that is only within city of Folsom. So it wouldn't have to go to the JPA board for an excursion rail license. It would just be an agreement with the city of Folsom PSVRR.
Mayor, I'm good. I'll wait for.
I have one question.
Thank
So, option 1, would that require the installation of the 4 at-grade crossings in Folsom Ranch?
We would, I believe we'd have to work with the PUC on either a temporary or if they would allow flagging, because right now, without passengers, they flag the train all the way from the Y property to the Hampton Inn. And so we would have to work with the PUC on what they are okay with as far as that, those crossings. Is that correct?
Yeah, just to add on to Brett's comments, the local PUC rep has been very helpful and accommodating in that regard, and has said that as long as we have a funding and a delivery plan to ultimately install those 4 crossings, that he would allow passenger service with just signs and pavement markings on the ground, which are in place now. So, we do have that temporary situation that is acceptable to the PUC. The crossings are in the public facilities financing plan. There are developer responsibility, but they're a developer responsibility along with a multitude of other backbone infrastructure improvements that are probably of higher priority at this particular point.
Right, thank you. And I do want to make that point because there's been a lot of misinformation on social media. I've seen it alleged multiple times that the developers gave money to the city for the crossings and those have been diverted to Parks and Recreation. And I just want to be very, very clear that that is absolutely not the case. As you mentioned, the 4 crossings are in the Public Facilities Financing Plan for the Folsom Plan area. They're what we call a SPIF eligible expense, meaning that if the developer put them in, they could get either credits or reimbursement per the specific plan infrastructure. Anyway, yeah, just want to put that out there. Okay, but so good to know that there is a short-term solution if we want to go that way in terms of the crossings. Okay, thank you.
Very good. Any other questions? All right, we have some public comments. And if I can ask,
Would you like Jim Harville to do his presentation?
I was going to ask if Jim wanted to go first. Jim, would you like to go first? Absolutely. Okay, great.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Mark. Mayor Kozlowski, Vice Mayor McKeno, members of the City Council. Thank you very much for allowing me the time tonight to give you what's essentially an annual report on a very brief annual report on our program, address some of the questions that have been asked, and then turn it over to public comment. So let's get to it. Is it just a click?
Yeah, just hit the right arrow.
There we go. Okay, right and left. Thank you. All right, except it's not working. Did I move the?
Maybe up, down.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. Where is? Okay. There's some slides that have been removed on this.
No, you just went backwards.
Let's see.
Go down.
Okay. Oh, they ended up at the bottom somehow. Okay. All right. Oh, I see. That was the last slide. Here we go. Thank you very much. All right. Placerville and Sacramento Valley Railroad. That was the original name of the tracks when they were built between Folsom and Shingle Springs in the 1860s during the Civil War. Most of you have seen this map before. Currently, from Folsom Junction, what we know call the Y now, 5 miles out to Highway 50, another 10 miles out to Latrobe. That is the extent of our license agreement. We are the licensed operator out to Latrobe. We do have more access in El Dorado County. It's just we jump through a couple of extra hoops similar to what we do for our holiday trains here in Folsom. Beyond that, the El Dorado Western Railroad program operates from Shingle Springs to Diamond Springs there at Missouri Flat Road. The 11 miles between Latrobe and Shingle Springs is currently protected by resolution of the El Dorado Board of Supervisors, who had several years back committed to a rails with trails vision for the corridor. They have completed 3 miles of trail from Missouri Flat to the town of El Dorado alongside the rails instead of removing any of that rail. Our mission, of course, is to preserve the tracks, preserve the railroad, but to do it by operating a sustainable community heritage railroad. Our vision is to eventually connect with the El Dorado Western program up the hill and create a world-class railroad attraction, which this has multi-million-dollar potential. our vision, premium rail excursions and trails on the corridor, following the example led by City of Folsom in putting all the trails alongside the tracks in your community. So we benefit the community through sharing the history, promoting tourism and economic development. One of the key elements when we consider this is that not only do we bring tourism dollars into your community, we keep tourism dollars from leaving. So there are well-known railroad attractions throughout Northern California, and if somebody spends their dollars here instead of Fort Bragg, which is where the steam locomotive is right now, earning its keep for us while we're unable to run it here in town. And the amount that they're charging for it would astonish you. So in doing so, we create partnerships with other stakeholders. We generate revenue for these corridor improvements. As staff has indicated, we have yet to come hand in hand, our hat in hand, to the communities or the JPA to fund our program. One of our key drivers is to increase recreational accessibility for all users. We are the ADA access to this fantastic amenity. From 2011 to 2022, over the last 12 years, over 50,000 passengers, well over 500,000 in cumulative program revenue. This does not include 2023 numbers where we've added in excess of 60,000, bringing our cumulative revenue, program revenue, to over $620,000. Quite a few volunteers. You can see that adds up to 75,000 volunteer hours that have built this amenity for your community. The track maintained a Class 1 standard, which allows us to run passengers on a full-size train. 3 miles is what we currently maintain, and that's from Highway 50 to the county line. So half of that has been bisected by the Folsom Plan area, which is one of the motives for us wanting to continue in that zone. The remaining 12 miles, both in Folsom and beyond White Rock Road, is maintained to the standards that allow us to carry passengers in our motor cars. Okay. Here's a track of our program revenue over the years. You can see the dip in 2017 when construction started in the Folsom Plan area. You can also see the trend of where we were going and where we ended up in 2018, where we crossed the $2,000 average daily revenue threshold. A little dip in 2019 because in that spring we had a failure of our large locomotive, our orange World War II era locomotive. We had already put in place plans to add that second locomotive, which came to us in the fall of 2019, half again as heavy and probably twice as capable. Perhaps even 3 times as capable. And then COVID. Kudos to our Director of Development, Chris Van Thul, who managed to eke out a little over $20,000 in outside donations when we didn't haul Passenger 1 that year. 2021, those donations continued, whereas historically, all those numbers from 2019 back were almost entirely ridership revenue. From 2020 on, we've consistently brought in over $20,000 annually just in outside general donations and grants. So in 2021, we also, coming out of the pandemic, we launched our program with the full-size train, with the new locomotive, and we're generating revenue, and then ran into the issues in the Folsom Plan area with these crossings. The FRA and CPUC reports referred to by staff, they're referring to the conditions created by this project. That track was passing all inspections prior to the project. The regulators have seen the track from White Rock to County Line and have said, that section looks great. And so we've been working with staff to try to mitigate as much as possible on that.
Jim, could I ask you to take a breath for just a second? You're
Sure.
about double the normal time we allow for.
Well, this is
for
the presentation that I was.
I understand. I'm just going to ask you to move it
I'll-
along and stay on topic if you, as best you can, with relation to whether we should extend or not extend the license, because that's what's on the table.
Heard and understood.
Thank you.
Okay, so you can see the revenue picking up, and of course, we've exceeded our 2022 revenue this year, even with only our motor car operations. Again, we have a proven track record of success, capable, professional, experienced. Here are some, that lanky 9-year-old putting tie plates on those ties is now 22 years old and sitting on my couch right now. This is White Rock Road, okay? Specifically, one of the points of contention in the license negotiations. In 2013, we acquired, restored, installed, and now operate and maintain these crossings at White Rock Road. It is an active grade crossing right now. The reason we put that in is because we knew that the connector was going through, and by activating that crossing, that puts the burden on the connector project to maintain it as a active grade crossing, okay? This is what we call Bridge 4. It's between the hospital and CalFam Fit. You can see the rot and the sinkage in those stringers. A few years back, we completely rebuilt that bridge. Here's the when you widened East Bidwell. Before that was done, the track needed some rehabilitation. This is our crews doing that. Again, that's professional product right there. Doing some work on the steam locomotive. Eusthathios Pappas, the owner of the steam locomotive, working with me to put the steam dome on. 1909 is what that's where that locomotive is from. Current and future challenges, obviously finding solutions for the crossings in the FPA and the Capital Southeast Connector. As staff has indicated, the City of Folsom signed the agreement with California Public Utilities Commission in 2015. Those crossings were conditionally approved on the condition that they be signalized. Coordinating bike and pedestrian access on the SPTC. This pedestrian bridge that you were just looking at, we have brought it to the connector's JPA's attention, and I've had talks with Robert Goss and Bruce Klein regarding the fact that the Trails community expects one of those crossings at White Rock along this corridor as part of the El Dorado Trail system. By taking those costs of doing an overpass, you could mitigate most of the cost of a grade separated crossing, even though we fully support an at-grade crossing, as does Dave Stewart, mentioned by Mr. Rakovan. Repair of storm damage and drainage enhancements. Our biggest challenge there is jurisdictions that won't let us do the work. You saw us, that picture with my boy in it, that was the Latrobe washout that we fixed in 2 weeks, $10,000. Because it washed out in last New Year's storms, El Dorado County has put in for FEMA funds to the tune of $1.5 million for a job that we could do for free. That's a conversation we'll have up the hill. Don't worry about that. Storage and maintenance facilities south of Highway 50. It's always been our intention to move the bulk of the industrial chic outside of Folsom, leaving the Y property to be much more of a community-based program where we're doing open house, boutique kind of restoration, right, where that the public can witness with a fully restored superintendent's house as a centerpiece to that. So in that, we support much of what the staff's vision of that area is. They're talking now about a JPA master plan. which we fully support. It's important to set these policies so they're consistent all up and down the board. I understand the rationale behind, well, Folsom can do this and El Dorado County can do that, but this is a 53-mile corridor from 65th Street in Sacramento all the way up into Placerville, 34 miles between the Y and Missouri Flat Road. It's consistent that it's important that all agencies involved have a consistent vision for that so that we eliminate conflicts between the member agencies, so we have consistent use policies for all corridor users and create a stronger future for the SPTC. So what we're asking, the minimum requirements for sustainability. The reason we're asking for 7 years is because you cannot point to a program of this scope that can survive with a 5-year planning horizon. It's unrealistic and it's unfair. And we're simply asking for you to allow the program to grow and to show more and more faith in the work that we've already accomplished for your community. Committing to anchor the program at Highway 50. Our chances of success, our revenue figures, our ability to preserve the rest of the railroad all plummet dramatically if we move our program from Highway 50. The visibility, the central location. Santa Cruz runs a train right through the middle of their town up into the hills, okay? And the fact that it's anchored there in their town is a big driver of their revenue. There's a couple of items. Item 3 and 4 are El Dorado County specific. We don't need to address that here. So that's our ask. Those are the reasons why. If you break the continuity of this line in any way, then you give the next developer, the next jurisdiction, the license to do the same thing, and our program will disappear. It's incontrovertible. No one has ever been able to, a lot of people say that won't happen. Nobody can look me in the eye while they're saying it. So we have the vision, the tools, the ability. We have now the track record of building this incredible amenity for your community. I want to address, in my closing comments, the Southeast Connector, and I want to compliment Brett Bollinger and Mark Rakovan for the even-handed way that they presented the facts here. And I also want to thank Sarah. She has done more to get this issue off top dead center than just about anybody involved at her level. In the history of our program. She's been fair, and I know that she has a different perspective maybe than we do on this, but I want to thank you personally for the work you've put in on this. The Capital Southeast Connector, if you want what we're offering, then let them be the bad guys. Give us a 7-year renewal, right? Allow us to continue to operate. Mark stipulated that in the June 7th meeting we had with Dave Stewart that CPUC acknowledges that the connector is the nut to crack, and he's willing to be very, very accommodating in the Folsom Plan area while we work through that. So those things are already in place, as Mark indicated. We simply want to go to the JPA with this, and the JPA has seen this proposal, and we want to go back to the JPA with your blessing so they can send this out to the other member agencies and we can move forward. If the JPA, or if the connector, if the CPUC, I'm trying to hurry up.
Hey, you got to get your last word in right now.
If the CPUC says that grade separation is required, then let them be the bad guys. Don't start being the bad guys tonight. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. So I indulged Jim with a lot more time than we normally allow from public comment. Everybody else now has 2 minutes and 54 seconds for their comments. So if you can please keep it succinct. And I wanted to have Jim do that so that we could have a sort of cohesive start to finish story from the rail operator. So anyway, we're going to take the rest of the comments. To the extent that you feel comfortable doing so, feel free to say ditto. We want 7 years, and pass it on. Pass the mic on.
Mr. Mayor, could I make one comment first, please? Because I do want to respectfully take exception with one thing that Jim said, because he said that Dave Stewart from the CPUC is supportive of an at-grade crossing at White Rock when it becomes the Capital Southeast Connector. And I want to tell you that I do not believe that that's what he said. I have been in a meeting with PSVRR folks and city staff and connector folks and Dave Stewart from the CPUC. I have met one-on-one with Dave. I have emailed with Dave, and I have spoken with Roger Clugston on the phone. He's the director of Rail Safety Division for the CPUC. In every single instance, what they've said, well, let me back up. They have been very careful to not say whether they would approve or not approve an at-grade crossing. What they've said is grade separation must always be considered first. And if studies determine that a grade separation is not practicable, they will consider an at-grade crossing. But they only consider cost to be one small part of practicability, meaning we can't just say we can't do a grade separation because it's too expensive. There have to be other reasons. So I just want to make that distinction because I think they have been very, very clear to not say whether they would approve or not approve an at-grade crossing. And we haven't put in a formal application.
Very good. And just to reiterate something Mark said earlier, they're at the southeast connector is at the starting line of actually considering what the design will be for that segment of the connector. It's not started yet, so we have some time to influence what that result will be ultimately. With that, will you please call the first public comment?
Okay, we have over 20 requests to speak on this item, so what we'll do is we'll call the next speaker and then the next two, so you can be ready when you hear your name called. So our first speaker will be Bernard Wozni, who will be followed by Gary Gross, who will then be followed by Jennifer Gross.
Mayor Kozlowski, honorable council members, council officials, and members of the public. My name is Bernard Wozni. I was born in New Jersey. I lived a long time in England, and I have been a proud resident of Folsom for nearly 20 years. I would like to say, well, we all know that Folsom is distinctive by nature, but it is also distinctive by history. And as you can see, there is a great deal of skill in the PSVRR and also enthusiasm. They are self-sustaining and financially viable. And I would beseech the council to look upon supporting them in all practical ways and manners. So basically, as you are time considerant, I would just like to say ditto and allow the next speaker.
Thank you very much. Please say hi to Nadia for me.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker will be Gary Gross, who will be followed by Jennifer Gross, who will then be followed by Dawn Rose.
Jennifer and myself are not citizens of, I'm sorry, we don't live in Folsom, we live in Vallejo, but we drove up here to support for rail activities. We're both rail buffs. We travel all over the country riding these trains. It's a passion for us, and I say ditto to everything that the first gentleman said. Give them the 7-year agreement.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker will be Jennifer Gross, who will then be followed by Dawn Rose, who will be followed by Gary Putman.
Good evening. I'm Jennifer Gross, Vallejo, California. I say ditto to the 7 years as well. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for visiting.
Okay, next will be Dawn Rose, followed by Gary Putman, who will be followed by Steve Nemeth.
Good evening, Mayor Kozlowski, City Council members, staff, and members of the public. I work with 4 nonprofits to coordinate volunteer work on the natural surface section of the El Dorado Trail. We have a multi-use dirt trail open to mountain bikers, horses, and hikers running alongside the railroad track from Folsom to Placerville over 26 miles, although some parts are not quite complete. I support alternative 3, to allow the development of the Y property at Bidwell and Folsom Boulevard into a train park and museum and depot, and with trains to run from the Y actually out to Oak Avenue Parkway. I think it would be acceptable to run farther than Blue Ravine because, well, in Santa Cruz, as Jim Harville said, they have a train running right through the middle of town, and I can provide other examples of that across the country. And this would create a tourist nexus with historic Folsom and the River District. Another option would be for excursion trains to run from Hazel Avenue west to Watt Avenue. Union Pacific maintains the historic track paralleling light rail, and there is an agreement in place between the Union Pacific and the JPA to allow for joint freight and excursion rail in that section. Both of these alternatives eliminate the need for a rail crossing at the southeast connector. But these alternatives should be pursued if and only if PSVRR agrees not to operate south of White Rock Road or anywhere in El Dorado County or agrees to some other reasonable compromise. If trains aren't allowed to run in Folsom or Rancho Cordova, train operation will be forced into El Dorado County, making it difficult to build the planned paved bike path in the SPTC from Folsom to Placerville. That 25-mile trail will probably cost $1 million per mile to build if the railroad track is removed, but potentially $3 million per mile to build alongside the railroad track, if it is even feasible to do so given the rough terrain. So operating trains in El Dorado County has a potential $38 million opportunity cost for the 19 miles from Folsom to Shingle Springs and $50 million for the entire 25 miles. And building the paved trail alongside the track will probably destroy parts of the existing dirt trail. But if the paved trail is built, it will be another big tourist draw for Folsom. So it's important to find alternative places for the PSVRR to operate. So please consider the impacts of your decision on other sections of the SPTC corridor and other user groups. And please note that the track from Folsom to Placerville is a rail-banked trail corridor. Rail banking preserves the corridor, but not the track, and the law requires that the primary use of a rail bank corridor is to be trail development until financially viable freight rail operation is reinstated. Other uses of a rail bank corridor must be consistent with trail use, and I believe this applies to tourist rail. And the $38 to $50 million incremental cost attributable to tourist rail is not consistent with trail use.
Your time is exhausted. Can you bring it to a close with a
Yeah,
sentence?
I believe what's really needed is a comprehensive solution for the entire rail bank corridor, meeting the needs of all user groups, taking into account the costs and benefits of various user groups. And I hope that the JPA will pursue that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, our next speaker will be Gary Putman, who will then be followed by Steve Nemeth, who will be followed by Richard Dunbar.
Hi there, thank you. I'm Gary Putman. I'm the race director for the Folsom Handcar Derby, which has been going for 31 years. I've done over 150 handcar races in this country, clear from the East Coast to Alaska. I've worked with many, many different railroad groups in this country. And the one thing I do know, if you rip up a piece of rail, it doesn't go back. And Folsom's a very historical town. I bet there's nobody on that group right up there can tell me the first 3 railroads that are west of the Mississippi. I bet you can probably tell me one of them, but you can't tell me the first 3. Can you? Everybody. Well, Sacramento Valley Railroad was the first, but then you had the Prison Railroad, and then you had the California Central Railroad that went from Folsom to Lincoln through Roseville. But like I'm saying, if you rip that piece of rail up on this new freeway that's coming through here eventually, that railroad will never continue. You might as well just rip it all up. And that locomotive that's on your symbol up there, you might as well erase it. That's all I've got to say. Thank you. I support the PSVRR. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker will be Steve Nemeth, followed by Richard Dunbar, who will then be followed by Chris Vanthel.
Good evening. My name is Steve Nemeth, and I have been a volunteer with the Sacramento Southern Railroad for 25 years in their track department. I have barely spent a minute walking on the carpet in that museum. It's all been outside. My back tells the story. And I'm also a volunteer with the state of California at my pre-retirement job of forecasting the water supply for the state. And I'm a volunteer with the railroad here in Folsom. And I enjoy volunteering because I can get a tactile experience of history. And I can also learn from history. And I think we can all learn from history, whether we volunteer or not. And its presence is important for us to learn from the past to help us in the future. If we whittle away at the history here in Folsom, we know for sure that it will disappear, because it's not an asymptotic thing where you approach it but never reach it. You will reach it if you keep taking parts away from it. And if Folsom reaches that point, Folsom will be a sterile city like so many others. And I don't think any of us want that to happen. And I too noticed that a steam locomotive is depicted in the plaque above us all in the head of the room. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker will be Richard Dunbar, who'll be followed by Chris Vanthel, who'll be followed by Manuel Cordero.
Hi, my name is Richard Dunbar. Thank you for indulging me in about 80 seconds of your time. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Manager, Council members. I'm here this evening in support of the Placerville and Sacramento Valley Railroad. The immortal Johnny Cash once sang, "I hear the train a-comin', it's rolling round the bend." These lyrics demonstrate that railroad activity in Folsom and the surrounding area is inexorably linked to Folsom's shared history. Train activity in Folsom made such an impression on Johnny Cash that he opened one of his most famous songs with reference to our beloved railroad. I've similarly been caught up in the awe and wonder of this living piece of history that still speaks to us. As such, it is with great concern that I learned this piece of history may have a portion of its history in jeopardy if the city does not find a way to support the Placerville and Sacramento Valley Railroad's requests. I'm sure that we as a city would not cast aside the legacy of Johnny Cash, and I similarly feel strongly that we as a city should not cast aside the legacy of this living piece of Folsom history. I humbly ask the city to dig deep and find a way to support the Placerville and Sacramento Valley Railroad in any and all ways possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker will be Chris Vanthel, who'll be followed by Manuel Cordero, followed by Jake Boston.
City Council, I just want to say thank you for listening to us. Jim probably did enough. I don't have to say anything else. Just, I would like to make sure you guys direct staff to work with us. We can solve the issues. We have a track record. We have brought forth the solutions, and we will continue to work for that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next will be Manuel Cordero, followed by Jake Boston, who will then be followed by, I think, Mark Boston.
Good evening. Thank you for having me speak. Since 1856, this railroad line, which was the first transit line in the state of California, is a foundation of not only Folsom history, but of state history. Without this line, Folsom would not be what it is today, and nor would much of this region. As a younger volunteer at the Placerville-Sacramento Valley Railroad, I have had the privilege of working with those who put so much time and energy into preserving our history for the collective enjoyment of the locals and folks from all around the state. This organization, which is driven by pure passion and the labor of love, seeks to have a reliable and productive working relationship with the city of Folsom, where the PSVR can continue operations inside of city limits. I hope the members of this city council can also begin talks with the PSVR in regards to the crossing gates and other things that Jim had mentioned. I also want to stress the importance of the 7-year operating limit, which is paramount to the success of this railroad. The PSVRR, which has the task of planning and executing projects that sometimes can take months and months, is an organization that thrives on long-term plans due to the realities of relying on passionate volunteers who have lives and careers to tend to outside of the railroad. It would be greatly beneficial for the PSVRR and the city to work together under a renewed 7-year license to ensure that every project, every ride, and every event is done with the stability and confidence that a 7-year license would provide for this nonprofit organization. With Folsom being an ever-growing city, we understand the hurdles that must be overcome with an operating railroad inside of city limits. However, as I have talked personally to small business owners, residents, and visitors over the past few weeks campaigning for the city council meeting, almost everyone agrees that continuing the operation of the PSVRR inside of Folsom is of paramount concern and is central to the part of the city's identity and culture. Not only does it show the past of Folsom, but it creates an affordable and accessible activity for families all around the area who bring money in from traveling, eating at local restaurants, and shopping at our excellent centers and spaces while they are here inside of the city. From a purely economic standpoint, this is more money kept inside of Folsom and even more money generated from tourists who oftentimes have never experienced an interactive historic railroad experience. I believe firmly that tonight the members of the City Council should come together in support of this treasured cultural experience in the name of historical preservation and enjoyment for all.
Superb. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker will be Jake Boston, followed by Mark Boston, who will be followed by Caden Prunholm.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. A great deal has been said by my colleagues. I am also a volunteer at the PSVRR. I was born and raised in Folsom. I went to Carl Sundahl Elementary School, and ever since I can remember, I recall peering into the Y, where we do our work, seeing the equipment and riding the trains when this humble organization first began. And now, as I've grown older and had the joy of becoming a part of it in recent times, I can say that this organization and the history connected to it represents a significant and important aspect of Folsom's history and culture. As other people have mentioned, the Great Seal behind you with the locomotive on it, but not just that, but also in its design. You can see its similarity to our own seal, harkens back to the Southern Pacific Railroad that also operated in this region. And so I stress its cultural importance and the significance it holds to the city's history and I hope future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next speaker will be Mark Boston, who will be followed by Caden Prudhomme, who will be followed by Sharon Kindle.
Good evening. I just wanted to state as a local property investor, a small business owner here in town, that one of the things that has always made Folsom special, in my opinion, is the things that kind of diversify us from other urban sprawl in the region. Old Town Folsom, the lake, things of that nature. And to me, the railroad speaks to that. It's one of the things that makes us unique and different, and I think it's something that we need to preserve at all costs. And as far as the rest of it goes, ditto.
Thank you.
Okay. Next speaker is Caden Prudhomme, followed by Sharon Kindle, who will be followed by Sherry Toges.
Hello, my name is Caden Prudhomme. I'm a volunteer for the Placerville and Sacramento Valley Railroad. I'm here to support the Placerville and Sacramento Valley Railroad and speak about the impact that it's had in my life as a young volunteer and the impact it's had on many others. And other than that, ditto. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, that brings up Sharon Kindle, who will be followed by Sherry Toges, who will be followed by Roberta Long.
Okay, Sharon, you have 3 minutes and 5 seconds.
Oh, come on, Michael. Okay, my name is Sharon Kindle, and I'm here tonight to read my husband's comments. I support Placerville-Sacramento Valley Railroad. Folsom City Council should direct staff to support PSVRR. This historic railway began operation in 1856, just a year after the city of Folsom began operations in 1855. I read the staff report for this agenda item. The new highway, CSEC, Capital Southeast Connector, will cross the rail line. The crossing can be done at grade or grade separated. The staff report asked the City Council to decide now among alternatives whether the new highway requires expensive grade separation or less expensive at-grade crossing. The staff report implies higher costs may fall on the city. Many questions are not answered in the staff report. Why is PSVRR objecting? Why do alternatives at grade and grade separated look like? What are the traffic issues for the new connector highway? If PSVRR depot is relocated, what is the mitigation that would be provided for less of the current depot? What are the costs? Who will be responsible for the costs? How have similar conflicts been resolved elsewhere? Are grants available to provide such costs? What are the views of those responsible for the new connector highway? What do the federal and state highway authorities advise? What does Sacramento County advise? Have environmental impact been properly addressed? What does the public favor? The answer to these questions and other questions should be provided. I suggest Folsom City Council direct staff to do the following. 1, support PSVRR in its program to serve the public. Negotiate with PSVRR on a path forward which will continue to serve the public. Two, support Folsom history by issuing railway future. 3, provide a more complete list of pertinent questions for public to be better understood and of the issues. Provide readily available answers to questions and describe studies needed for more complete answers.
Sharon, your time is exhausted.
I have 2 more.
2 more sentences? Go for it.
Schedule a progress report to inform the city, council, and public. 6, schedule a revised staff report responsive to these points.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, our next speaker will be Sherry Toges, who will then be followed by Roberta Long, who will be followed by Ginny McCormick.
Thank you. First of all, I wanted to let you know that I've been a resident of Folsom for over 20 years. When I first came here, I was newly married. My kids grew up here, and when I first came here, I was not a railroad person. Railroads were just a form of transportation like airplanes, cars, and such. My son fell in love with trains, and as the helicopter mom, I took him to see the trains. And since then, somehow, I became a volunteer. My son is now 18 years old. He still loves the railroad. He's in his first year of college in Colorado. And first thing he did is volunteer for their local railroad. When he came back for Christmas, guess what he did? Volunteered back here with a railroad. It is very important with our family to continue the historic, or to support the history within Folsom. It is what makes Folsom unique. The families that I've met up with during all of the little excursions love the railroad. The kids love it, the parents love it. It's nice to be able to provide to the community a small piece of our history. It's short, it's brief, it's inexpensive. They don't have to go out to Sacramento. In fact, we've got many people, many of the community within Sacramento coming to Folsom. And again, as you have heard, they bring their monies here to Folsom. I love that this is something that we can share. I know that there's a lot more questions, a lot more comments that are to be made, but I do ask of you to continue to support the Sacramento, the Placerville-Sacramento Valley Railroad. Please give them the 7-year license. As you had heard, there is that option that if something happens, you know, there's options. But please, as a volunteer, it is tough to put in your hard work, your sweat, your tears, you know, everything on that railroad to look in the future and say, it might not be here next year. But giving us that 7 years really does help us and push us to do our best, our very best, to continue to do this work. And as everybody has said, we're the ones that are producing, we're not asking you guys for the monies. We are just asking for you to support us. So we do ask of you to have the city of Folsom, please have them work with the railroad. That's what you can do as council members, and that's what I plead of you is, as a volunteers, please have the city workers work with us.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker will be Roberta Long, who will be followed by Ginny McCormick, who will be followed by Robert Goss.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, City Manager.
Roberta, could you talk into the microphone? It's right in front of you, the skinny one right there.
This one?
Yeah, just put it closer
Okay,
to you.
got it. My personal background, my grandfather was the chief engineer on the St. Paul-St. James line in St. Paul, Minnesota. And when I was 2 years old, to give my mother a little reprieve, he would take me to the roundhouse, put me up in the cab while he checked all the things that need to be checked. And I still remember the smell. It's pretty wonderful. When we moved to Folsom in 2007, I was really excited that we have trains here. And so I have been interested in the work with the museum and what I call the railroad guys and girls. So what I really appreciate is, yes, Folsom is distinctive by nature. And the amazing thing is, of all of the mining camps that grew up as soon as the gold was discovered, only one area survives, and that's Folsom. And why is that? That's because Joseph Folsom and other men decided that they wanted to build a railroad because there was really no way to get from here to there on roads and flooded rivers. Railroads had just been discovered about that time, and they were an amazing technological advance that would really save time, create amazing opportunities to make money. And so when that happened, and it only happened because there were brilliant, well-educated, creative men who made it happen. And Joseph Folsom was a graduate of West Point. He had a civil engineering degree. Everyone who graduated from West Point had a civil engineering degree. And he also was a classmate of General Sherman. Well, there were several investors who tried to make a go of the railroad, but there was a man named Mr. Wilson, and he went back east and hired a young man who had just graduated. Well, he didn't actually graduate, he left early, from Rensselaer Institute, which was the MIT of the time. And he had successfully built a railroad in Niagara Gorge. So he was, a
Your
young
time is
fellow.
exhausted because you have to name this engineer right now.
Okay.
So we all know what you're talking about.
What I want to impress is that we started as a railroad town because there were absolutely amazing people. There are still amazing people
Hear,
in
hear.
Folsom, young and old. And I think we can solve any problem that comes up. Thank you.
I agree completely. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker will be Ginny McCormick, followed by Robert Goss, followed by Jack Henry.
Hi, thank you. I'm here representing the Friends of El Dorado Trail. And I'd like to encourage you all to look at Alternative 3 that you've been presented. We are working very hard in El Dorado County to complete the El Dorado Trail. And one of the things that we would like to do is to get it paved from where it's currently, the pavement ends at in the town of El Dorado, all the way through to the county line, with a natural trail running along beside it, so that there's an opportunity for off-road bikes as well as regular bicycles. So it seems to me that for us, you're using option 3 does not interfere with our plans in El Dorado County. And we also go through the SPTC JPA, as you all do. So I'd just like to make a couple of comments about trails and the economic importance of trails. When trails connect, the use of trails increases by up to 80%. And in a Rails to Trails Conservancy study, 82% of citizens surveyed support investment in trails. So I think that you're looking at an option in option number 3 that can satisfy the train people and not impact the trails. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker will be Robert Goss, who will be followed by Jack Henry, who will be followed by Bill Wild.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Robert Goss. I'm here with the Friends of Folsom Parkways hat on. I'm the president of the organization. You know we're advocates for parkways, so that doesn't really need to be said now. But what I would like to remind people, anybody who knows me knows that I'm an avid cyclist. What people that know me don't know is my great-great-grandfather was a locomotive engineer on the Burlington Northern Line that ran north-south through the Black Hills of South Dakota. There is rail heritage in my family, and I love it myself. In the case of what is before you tonight, the Friends of Folsom Parkways would like to endorse alternative number 3. The rail history of Folsom needs to be embraced, enhanced, celebrated, and whatever adverbs and adjectives you want to add to that. And it should be done based out of the why at the doorstep of our historic district, within walking distance of our historic district, where there's a base of tourists already coming that can be built upon to then celebrate that rail history and take a ride on a live steam engine. It would be fantastic. Now to parkways. In Folsom, there are at least a dozen organized cycling clubs, representing probably over 4,000 cyclists. That's the organized ones. That's not including all of the people that just ride, because it's awesome to ride in Folsom and connect with the American River Parkway. In terms of pedestrians, because our parkways are used by pedestrians as well. We all walk or roll to, exercise, enjoy ourselves, enjoy the parkways. Your own trail counter on the Johnny Cash Trail has recorded an average of 18,000 users per month. That's over 200,000 users per year. it's a big deal. And what Jenny just said about the priority of trail use, anytime that's surveyed in all of the Parks and Recreation surveys that we did over the years in my career, it was always like number one or number two. It is the recreation thing that almost everybody can agree upon. Next, I got the benefit of a meeting last week with John Poimeru, and this report was prepared for the city of Folsom. It doesn't have a date on it. I think it was about 2007, 2008. Some of it is out of date, admittedly, but there are some really important messages in there from your consultant hired at that time that I think the city council should read. I'll close with a couple of comments from John at our meeting last week. This is a quote from John. This guy is a travel tourist consultant that's been all over the United States and internationally, and he has specific experience in rail and excursion rail. Quote, the real tourist opportunity to be realized by Folsom is to get cyclists on a paved El Dorado trail. Two more quotes and I'll be done. Cycling will only increase in the future, especially with the increased popularity of e-bikes. My editorial, e-bikes doesn't stand for electronic, it stands for equalizer. It makes everybody go anywhere. And finally, the Jedediah Smith Memorial Trail, otherwise known as the American River Parkway, attracts between 5 and 8 million users a year. Admittedly, they're not all tourists, but many are. Imagine if you could draw upon that and guide them up all the way to Apple Hill. It's possible, right on the El Dorado Trail. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker will be Jack Henry, who will then be followed by Bill Wild, who will be followed by Marty Swindell.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilman, Jack Henry. I'll spare you the pain of listening to what I wrote, but I do want to cover a couple items. Gentleman earlier brought up the fact that he was trying to come up with different ideas to fill up the hotels and restaurants and generate more revenue and everything like that. And I don't know if you're aware of a study that Mendocino County did on the skunk train. They surveyed everybody that came in there, and 42% of the people that came into Fort Bragg were there for the skunk train first, and then the beaches and the redwood. And I forget the number, but it was millions of dollars that were spent in Fort Bragg. And you know how that works at restaurants and hotels and all that sort of stuff. But anyhow, one of the things the railroad's done for me is I was never in a job that I got dirty and greasy and did mechanical work, and now that's what I do. And I'm retired. But I love it. I mean, I've learned a tremendous amount of stuff, and in addition to that, I've always wanted to operate a locomotive, and now I'm a licensed brakeman, licensed conductor, and a licensed locomotive operator, and I operate the locomotive that we've got out here. Fantastic. And all the volunteers we get are there to do the same thing. They want to learn how to work on equipment and, believe it or not, go out on the tracks and lift up heavy rail and all that kind of stuff, which I don't want to do that. Anyhow, that pretty much covers that. And the other thing that I really wanted to bring to your attention, well, one other thing is the gal just before me mentioned Theodore Judah. And you all remember we have an elementary school over here named Theodore Judah Elementary School. And I was just over there the other day talking to the principal. So I almost forgot what I was trying to say here. Oh, the money that we spent, Jim brought up the money that we've generated over the years that we've been operating. Every single dime of that money went right back into Folsom. It went back into the Home Depot, Lowe's, the hardware stores. We just got a load of diesel fuel the other day for like $2,000 to Roma, I think it was Roma Gas or whoever they are. Anyhow, it all gets put back into Folsom, every dime of it. And it's going to continue that way. We don't spend money outside unless it's an unusual part for a piece of equipment or something like that. The last thing, to kind of sum it up, We've carried, oh, geez, I don't even remember the number of little kids when we do the pumpkin patch and the Christmas run, the Santa Claus run. And one of the strangest things that it just tore me apart. We had the caboose all decorated up inside with Christmas tree lights and a Christmas tree and Santa Claus. And I'm at the back of the caboose on the ground, and a little 4-year-old girl came out of the caboose all by herself. And she stood there and looked at me, and she put her arms out like that, and she said, "That was the best ever." And that broke me up. I mean, I just about fell over when she said that.
Thank you very much for
So
your
think
comments.
about that kind of stuff. Thank you.
Okay, your next speaker will be Bill Wild, followed by Marty Swindle, followed by Greg Hampton.
Good evening, Mayor Kozlowski, Vice Mayor Aquino, council members and staff. I'll be brief, we'll throw in some dittos, but I'll just add some things from my perspective. First of all, I agree at the PVSRR, we have a track record, both literally and figuratively. You saw some of it in the photos that were up in Jim's presentation, and things that were accomplished with volunteer labor and our revenue that kept capital and maintenance costs out of the Folsom and JPA budgets. In addition to that, I think of my 2 sons that I've volunteered with side by side, both of whom are adults now and have their own families. I started volunteering over 10 years ago, and I think of my younger son being out helping to repair the rails under Highway 50, and then later on becoming a civil engineer. And these are great experiences for young people. When I volunteer, I like being outdoors, the physical aspect of it, learning new skills, some of which are old and are being preserved, and the camaraderie. And it's wonderful to volunteer on one of the passenger trains. The older people that connect nostalgically with the past, the younger people who perhaps it's their first experience riding on a train or being up close to one, narrating, and it's like being a part of a 4th grade history field trip. It's really wonderful. I am also a resident of El Dorado County, as some of the speakers are before, and I wanted to just kind of mention my perspective on what's going on there, in that there is talk of extending the trail further on a paved basis. However, I don't know if there's the political will in El Dorado County to go ahead with that because of the problems that have happened adjacent to the paved sections of the trail with crime and neighborhood opposition to that, whereas the railroad has been zero impact. Could be different in different sections, but I just wouldn't, as El Dorado County, I wouldn't want to leave your distinguished council here with the idea that that was a fait accompli, that it was funded and that there was the political will to make it happen. Not everyone enjoys the same recreation. Some people like team sports, some people like being outside and doing other things, and I appreciate that we offer that both to volunteers and to our passengers. Thank you for considering this, and I hope that we can continue to work together in the future, and you can see your way to support 7 years and operating agreement with the JPA. And I think once infrastructure goes, it goes. And if we lose that crossing across White Rock, not only will it not be available for our group, but any other group or a freight need or whatever in the future. You think of the cost to go back and retrofit that in the future, it's just never, ever going to occur. Thank you.
Thank you.
6 seconds left.
Okay, our next speaker will be Marty Swindle, followed by Greg Hampton, followed by Matt Wetter.
My name is Marty Swindell, and I've been a resident of Folsom since 1993, and I'm a supporter and a volunteer of the railroad. Now I'm going to tell a different story tonight. I'm going to tell the children's story that I think you all know about, the little engine that could. And it goes like this. There was a little railroad engine that worked at a station yard that was built for pulling a few cars on and off the switches. One morning, it was waiting for the next call when a long train of freight cars asked a large engine in the roundhouse to take it over the hill. I can't do that. It's too much of a pull for me, said the great engine, built for hard work. Then the train asked another engine, and only to hear excuses and be refused. So in desperation, the train went to the little switch engine and asked him, can you draw us up the grade and down on the other side? And the little switch engine says, I think I can. So as it went on, so then the little engine got in front of the big train. And he went, and the little train kept on bravely puffing faster and faster. I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. As he neared the top of the grade, which had so discouraged the larger engines, it went more slowly. However, he kept on saying, I think I can, I think I can. It reached the top by drawing on bravery and went down the grade and congratulating itself by saying, I thought I could, I thought I could. Now this story, I tell this story because that's the story of this railroad, is that since its inception, we've run into obstacles, issues, everything since 2008. Some imposed by the city, some imposed by others, but we're still here. Most nonprofits probably would have folded, but we're still here. And that shows the dedication, all the people from the railroad that are here tonight, shows the dedication and the passion for the railroad. So tonight, I had a whole lot more, but I'm cutting it short. Tonight, I would like the council to direct the staff to draft the license agreement for the excursion rail operations for 7 years for the consideration by JPA. And by taking this action, this council can help push this railroad up the grade to where we can move from I think I can to I thought I could. Thank you.
Outstanding, thank you.
Our next speaker will be Greg Hampton, followed by Matt Wetter, followed by Jerry Burnell.
Good evening, members of the council. Let me start off by just saying thank you for the opportunity to be here and just talk numbers initially. The anchor that we have now to make the connector create a trail connection into El Dorado County is the at-grade crossing. City of Folsom, we have already invested millions of dollars into the trail running from Willow Creek all the way out to Highway 50. We cannot throw that away by having the connection there severed with some kind of strange, lighted crossing area for bicyclists or path members, or a tens of millions of dollar bridge to go over that 6 lanes or whatever they're going to put there. We have to make our stand now, and the railroad is the steward of that. I had the blessing to grow up and enjoy Folsom as a young man, and the rich history which we prospered from. Now I bring my family to enjoy the railroad, and thousands of others along packed, sold-out seats at every event that they put on. Many thanks to the City Council of past, who 30 years ago wisely chose to invest in the corridor and provide for trails with rail. Dedicated volunteers and donors invested their time and earnings for the dream to keep our history alive. The leadership by the council was reciprocated along the corridor and respected the historical significance of the railroad. It was mostly all laid by hand. It's inconceivable that we would take a bulldozer and put a trail right over the top of it. All this was done with the vision. Shout out to our Army veteran Folsom, Captain Folsom, and those who lived, worked, and supported this town in the hard and early years of California's history. Again, I've only seen completely sold out trains, and Sacramento, it's an easy choice. It was $80 a seat for a child or adult at the Sacramento State Railroad Museum. It was less than $10 for a child with our local Heritage Railroad. For a family man, someone who has a family, it's a very easy choice. Plus, we get to stay here where we live and enjoy our local history. Again, some of the issues that were brought up, the development has put them at a difficult position to try to maintain this with volunteers. And anytime I've been out, I've never seen a single thing that would bring me concern, safety with these groups on the railroad with my family. So just to conclude, we should continue to protect our local resource and for all to enjoy it. And the continuity of the rail supports our continued trail effort and expansion from Folsom into the new development areas. The local railroad is our ad hoc steward of this resource, which they are our volunteer force to help keep that alive. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next speaker will be Matt Wetter, who will then be followed by Jerry Burnell, who will be followed by Tony Powers.
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. Thanks, Mr. Mayor and City Council. My name is Matt Wetter. I have been a resident of Folsom for almost 25 years now. The last 10 of those, I've been the president of Folsom Auburn Trail Riders Action Coalition. That's one of the nonprofits that Mr. Rose and Mr. Goss and Jenny were talking about, one of the supporters of the trail going from Folsom to Placerville. I'm also here to support alternative number 3, focusing the railroad and the tourist dollars here in Old Town Folsom, allowing more of, and keeping the rail on the Folsom side in Sacramento County and Folsom and west of Folsom, and allowing the corridor to be have room for a trail going into El Dorado County, where the terrain gets a little bit more narrow. It's just not entirely realistic to maintain a paved trail and a dirt trail up into that area with, and in addition to having to triple the cost of the construction and whatnot of that. Also understanding all the time that goes in by all the volunteers that have spoken up before me, and understanding that the question at hand here is the 7-year license. I do support the council supporting the 7-year license. That's not what, volunteers and every day, they don't want to spend their time paperwork, renewing licenses, that kind of thing. That's what I've been doing for 10 years as a trail advocate. And I think it's just a nod to all the appreciation and the hard work that they've put in. But once again, we do support alternative number 3 and providing a trail that goes all the way up to Placerville. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Jerry Burnell, who will be followed by Tony Powers.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I ride bikes, but I also love trains. Like Robert Goss, my great-grandfather was head of one of the railroads in Portland, Oregon. So I love the history. It's one thing about Folsom, which is amazing, is all these interest groups that we have here. I mean, the reason I moved here is because we have strong stakeholders and strong community groups, and it makes this area very rich. And this group, I've had the opportunity to work with for years, and it's very seldom that people don't always have their handouts. I mean, these people are huge workers. They get amazing things done. They're dependable. They've done pretty much the amazing. When they came to me several years ago and said, we have a steam locomotive for our excursion rail, I was like, how do you get a steam locomotive? Those things are $500,000 to $1 million. When I got the opportunity to ride on it, YK, with you when it came here, there's just nothing like that. If you go with alternative 3, you've pretty much eliminated the excursion rail. It's not going to be functional from the Y out to Highway 50. You just think of how it works with our streets and our roads and our traffic. And frankly, when I came here in 1987, I had no idea that light rail would come out to Folsom. The reason it's here, one of the reasons it's here, besides Bob Hornos driving a Siemens car down to Sunrise and shaming RT that they weren't out here, we had a rail corridor. And we can't afford to let our rail corridor go away. I don't know, maybe it's a streetcar from historic Folsom that connects to light rail that goes past our college, that goes past our hospital, that goes by the Palladio, that goes out to Highway 50 at some point. If you don't have an excursion run that will allow you to actually run that steam locomotive, it's not going to be successful. These people aren't going to support themselves off a pumpkin patch and a Santa's reindeer, or a Santa's train. What works is an excursion rail, and these people have done an amazing thing over the years to build an amazing organization in our community that requires huge capital, huge experience, and I think we need to continue to support them. Alternative 3 is a killer for the railroad. I'd like to support a 7-year. And while I spend almost all my waking hours in Folsom, as many of you know, I do sleep in El Dorado County. And we don't want to take tracks out and ruin a potential corridor up to the Placerville in that area by tearing it out. Once you put a trail in there, do you think you're ever bringing train tracks back? No. There's rails and trails all over the country. They're successful. They can coexist. You don't have to be selfish and focus on one recreational opportunity. I appreciate the time that you've given us. Given me. I'd love to see that steam locomotive back here. It's too bad that it hasn't been here the last couple of years, but I'd really like you to support these folks. They're good folks. They're hardworking folks. They support and preserve our history and our community. So I hope you can see your way to support a 7-year alternative.
Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Tony Powers. Hi, Tony.
Tony, you get to bring it home.
Bob Holder isn't behind me somewhere?
No.
Tony Powers, 1002 Natoma Street, a 30-year resident of Folsom. I want to do the ditto on what Robert Goss had to say, including my grandfather worked for the Pennsylvania Railroad many years ago. And I am a proponent of rails with trails, although I do have some concerns with portions of El Dorado County where the practicality of doing both, either because of narrow cuts through the rock or bridges over gorges and things like that. I've inspected all the bridges on the SBTC corridor, so I'm familiar with them all. I wanted to ask you all one question. Do you all know, a historical question, do you all know when the American River Parkway bike path was built? Anybody know? All right, I will make you wait.
1982.
That's the current version is a little bit older than that, but the original version, 1890.
Wow.
The history of bicycling in Folsom is almost as old as the history of railroading in Folsom. Just thought everybody should know that. Thanks.
Thank you very, very much.
Okay, you have
All
no
right.
further requests to speak on this item, Mr. Mayor.
Fantastic. Okay, so back to the council. The question on the table is a new license agreement of some length, right?
That is an option, but I think that's more the JPA's purview than, like, today is just
What
giving
instruction do you need?
direction on how that segment from the Hampton Inn to White Rock Road,
Yes.
with continuing allowing the excursion rail services, understanding that we have the future Southeast connector, we have the other roadway crossings in the Folsom Plan area, we have residents, and in order to make the improvements to either do an at-grade crossing of the Southeast connector or a grade separated, will require public investment as along with the alternative 3.
Okay,
would
boil
also.
this all out, though. You're asking, should we give an operating license to the PSVRR for use of the segment of the rail line that is between the Hampton Inn and White Rock Road?
Yes.
And for what length of time?
You
If
don't-
we're gonna grant one to them.
You don't have to get into the length of time. You can leave that up to the JPA because the length of the license agreement has to be approved by Sac County as part of the JPA, El Dorado County, if they're going to be a partner with it. So the length, it doesn't matter. Eventually, you'll have to approve it as city council. Is that correct, Mark?
Providing an indication tonight, though, will give some guidance
you
to
get
those other
guidance.
organizations?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, excellent. All right. City Council, what comments or questions do you have?
I don't have any, but I support the agreement.
Okay. Anna, anything in particular at this juncture?
No.
Okay. YK.
No, yes. So they're all asking for license for 7 years, and you are saying it is JPA. I'm confused.
Well, their request is 7 years. As the JPA, we haven't really discussed the length of term yet, but in the past it's been 5 years. Their 7 years is what PSVRR is requesting, and I'm not 100% sure what the JPA board is going to support. that may be a better question for
So maybe I can help out here.
Councilmember.
The license agreement is with the JPA, not with the city of Folsom.
Right.
And so, but I think because we are one of 5 seats on the JPA board, and because this stretch does go through Folsom, the board, I believe, will give deference to what we want. So I think here we're looking for a recommendation to the JPA about the license agreement.
Thank you. I was alternate for that, for 2 years when Kerry was here. But last time, city council, I think, Sarah, you were there, we only allowed 2 years for them and asked them to come back. Is that right?
Oh, that was for the Y properties.
Y property only. Okay, thank you. I just want to get some clarification. Again, everybody spoke here with a passion and tons of enthusiasm and energy for historic nature of Folsom as well, including the locomotive. I rode on that, as Jerry said. I grew up where it's always on the public transport. Trains is the best transportation. In my view, once you touch one thing, giving something too much for the safety, I think I heard people saying Santa Cruz, they're running excellent excursion train. And we always come up with the safety, number one. And number two, either at grade or a little bit raised. If cost is not the thing, then we can go with the at grade, whatever it is on the flat, it's not that expensive. I know, Mark, you were talking about last time, how much public money we have to invest even on those places. So, but we can always challenge CPUC, and because it is a public money, it is excursion money, it is not running every day, very infrequently. So those are my views in my recommendation as a council member. I don't know, my mayor, you are going to be open for, again, the deliberation, how many years, or we can make.
That's what we're doing right now. If you have a suggestion for all of us, we'll take it.
Yeah, my recommendation is, I think I voiced several times, a public-private partnership. This is a perfect example in public-private partnership. What we can do as a community, in my case, that is a private, I'm calling, even though it is a nonprofit, you're all working, blood and sweat to run that steam engine on the Folsom tracks. My recommendation is allow them for the 7 years what they are asking, because it's not going to happen today. Government works so slow. So it takes its own pace of time. By 7 years, hopefully we'll have something more concrete to talk. That's my recommendation.
Got it. Sarah, your thoughts?
Well, I want to start by thanking all of you for coming and for all of the emails. I'm absolutely thrilled to see the next generation of railroad enthusiasts in the room tonight. And I want to assure you that everybody in this room, including every member of the council and every member of our city staff, cares about the history of Folsom and the railroad. And we all want to find a way to celebrate and honor that history. And everybody's talked about their grandfather or great-grandfather. I'm going to tell you a quick funny story about my father that somebody told me recently. Bob Holderness, who served on the city council from 90 to 98, was part of the negotiating team working with the railroad to buy these tracks. My father, at the same time, served on the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors, and he was doing the negotiating on their behalf. And as Bob told me, they were going to go into this conference room and negotiate the price. And my dad walked in and he said, our first, our best, our final offer is $13 million or whatever it was, and then walked out of the room. And Bob came out and he said, Dave, I thought we were going to negotiate. But it worked because Southern Pacific said, okay, well, we accept. So anyway, I think there's a short-term answer here and a long-term answer. I think in the short term, it is possible for PSVRR to continue to run from the Hampton Inn to Latrobe, provided that the JPA gives the license agreement and that El Dorado County agrees with that, and that the CPUC, as long as they allow, flagging or however we do those 4 crossings. But I do think we need to still continue, and I don't want to kick this can down the road. I think we need to have this conversation. We need to think long-term. Because getting over, under, across White Rock when it's fully built out as the Capital Southeast Connector, that is a hurdle we have to deal with. And it is very possible that a grade-separated crossing is going to be cost prohibitive, and the CPUC may not approve an at-grade crossing. And so we need to think about what will happen if they say no to an at-grade crossing. The option number 3, the Y, I'd love to see the Y activated as some sort of, railroad theme park, and we get that superintendent's house restored. I'd love to see some kind of walking tour where people go from the Y to the turntable, to the depot building, to the museum, and back around. Definitely, there's multiple ways to honor and celebrate our railroad history. I know that for the PSVRR, this long excursion train run is definitely a part of that. Again, I think we can do it in the short term. Whether it can be done in the long term, I don't know. We're going to have to see about that. And obviously, you represent us on the Connector JPA board, and so it can be part of those discussions as far as the design. As far as the license agreement, I think the fact that the contract does have kind of this out clause, I think that is fine, and so I'm okay with the 7 years, recommending that.
Excellent, okay. Well, I won't belabor the point because I agree with the Vice Mayor. One thing did stand out for me from all the commentary tonight, and that was the gentleman that mentioned that when you start taking away amenities like the railroad that we enjoy currently, you sterilize the city and then we become like everywhere else. And none of us that live here in Folsom moved here because Folsom was like everywhere else. We moved here because Folsom is like Folsom. It's that important. And all of us, our terms will end at some point on the council. But like everybody that's working on the railroad and everybody that holds one of these seats, we are running a relay race. And the baton in this case is an irreplaceable asset. It will, if we drop it, it will be gone forever. So I would share your opinion that we should extend that, recommend a license agreement that extends for 7 years and use that as impetus to get to work on figuring out some of these other barriers that will slow the, that could get in the way in the future. So, good. If everybody's okay, would you like to?
We need to make a motion? for
Somebody
this?
needs to make a motion.
I'll make
yes.
a motion to extend the license for 7 years and to direct staff to work with the PSVRR on possible solutions to the upcoming problems.
Yep, I'll second on that.
Okay, is that adequate?
Obstacles, not problems.
Obstacles. Is that adequate?
I just want to ask,
What you need?
Mr. Bollinger, you had laid out 3 alternatives and then you had a slide with specific direction. Are you needing the council to give you direction on which alternative at this time, or is that not necessary?
Just to work on those alternatives
so
as
that
part of this
motion-
7-year or out clause, depending on the Southeast Connector.
just wanna make sure.
We can work that within that timeframe.
If I could add a friendly amendment that whatever option was exiling the railroad to operations south of White Rock, I will never in a million years
2, I think.
go with that one.
I'll just add rather than amend, and to exclude that option.
Thank you very much. Is that okay? Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second.
Who seconded?
White.
Okay. Council members Chalem Chella?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Rohrbach?
Yes.
Aquino?
Yes.
And Kozlowski?
Yes. All right. All right.
Okay, that takes you to your last business item this evening. This is item number 11. This is consideration of letter in response to demand letter received from Scott Rafferty regarding alleged noncompliance with the Brown Act.
Good evening, Madam City Clerk, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Stephen Wong, City Attorney, subject to your questions.
Nice presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Do you need us to take action to
Yes, sir.
restate our commitment to compliance with the Brown Act?
Yes, sir. And
Okay.
allow the mayor to issue the reply.
I will move to have the mayor send a reply letter to Mr. Rafferty and to continue our compliance with the Brown Act.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Could you please call the roll?
Council members Chalem Chella?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Rorba?
Yes.
Aquino?
Yes.
And Kozlowski.
Yes.
Okay, that takes us to council requests for future agenda items.
Ms. Rodriguez?
I have none.
Okay. Ms. Rorba?
I can go off my head. So I want to have an update from the city manager. Last year, we did a strategic plan. A month or two later, I asked for an action plan or action steps of what you're creating. And then last fall, I asked for that again. So I wanted to see when that would be on the agenda for us to hear any updates on the strategic plan. Also, obviously, the one that I talk about all the time is the homeless and crime discussion. I've talked to PD again, and they have specific things they could and would like to implement, and I would like to continue to have that discussion. It was a little disappointing that from October 10th, we were able to discuss the Citizens Awards, but we had almost 30 people show up that same day to talk about the homeless and criminal crime issue in Folsom, and yet we still have, even though this is the 5th time asked, and we had consensus to put it on the agenda, that it still hasn't gotten on here. So I know, Mike, that you and I have talked about it just previously, so I just want you to continue to consider to get that on the agenda as soon as possible. And there was one more, but I'll let it go because it must not be that important.
All right, Mr. Chalem Chella.
Mayor, this is not for urgent, but I still want to bring this. Folsom schools and funding. I know we only have what we have with the SFID 3. And we all know when we put that on the ballot and approved in 2005, 2007 for 7.5 million, now the estimation is almost 2.1 billions, exponentially. Whether Folsom and Rancho is going to go together and school district separation is going on and all those, we have to think as a Folsom how we as a Folsom people can start thinking on where and how we can get extra funding to continue building the schools to support Folsom plan area. So I know school separation or split, whatever that right word is, it's coming very soon, but we still have to think ahead and plan. What if scenario, can we still move forward with our own plan the way we went for SFID 6 or 7, one of those?
So let me just make sure I understand this. You want us to discuss potentially having the city step in and be a funding source?
Funding source in
for
partnership with
in partnership with the school district.
school district.
Okay. All right. That is a non-traditional thing that happens.
True,
Okay.
because we all see how fast South of 50 is growing, and the demand. They're all our citizens. So we want to be in a proactive mode talking about.
No question. Okay.
Mayor, can
Before
I
that
clarify?
comes, sorry, to the agenda, could I just ask that maybe that be a conversation you have with the city attorney? Because I think that would be a violation of Measure W in our charter. If you're talking about a citywide bond to fund schools south of 50. So maybe that's a conversation that needs to be had with the city attorney before it comes to us.
Let's start with that before we bring it for discussion here. Yeah.
Whichever it is, bottom line is money to build schools.
Okay. All right.
That's
So
it,
City
bottom line.
manager, city attorney, could you please research that and provide some guidance?
We shall.
Thank you. Did you?
That clarified it.
That was it. Okay. Good. Okay. All right. I don't have a report tonight except that the.
This is agenda items, right?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Agenda items. Go. No, please.
I
No,
don't have
no
any
agenda items. I don't have any agenda requests either. With regard to the homelessness review, I did, and Councilmember Rorba and I did have an extended conversation about this particular topic, and I've had a number of email requests from the public on this topic, and I just want to reiterate one thing, and we've talked about it, but for everybody out there, the the workshop that we had to review over what the city does to address homelessness was intended as a basically a description of all the actions that we take on a regular basis and all the things that we have planned for in the current year budget. Okay, so as we want to revisit that, we don't have budget currently to change what we're doing unless we defund something else that we have already budgeted for. Okay, so we are absolutely on the hook to constantly be looking for improvements and solutions and other things that we can do to help address the myriad of issues around homelessness. But the current budget is set up based on what we all approved to do the things that we are doing currently. We are about to start on the development of the budget for next year, which starts in July, and that will absolutely be part of that discussion. So just FYI to everybody, just so that you know that part of the story. Okay, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. A reminder that you can take your extra recyclables to one of the city's 5 community recycling drop-off locations. They're available to Folsom residents 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they're located down in the Historic District at the corner of Leidesdorff and Wool Street at Folsom City Hall, right here at Folsom Middle School, at the Andy Moran Sports Complex, and at Lemby Park. You may be aware that we are expecting some wet weather, maybe even an atmospheric river the last part of January and early February. So know that sandbags are available for residents and businesses, and you can pick those up either right here behind City Hall or at Fire Station 36 at 9700 Oak Avenue Parkway. And finally, I do realize it is only January, but the application window for local nonprofit groups to sell state-approved fireworks for the 4th of July in the city of Folsom opens at 8 a.m. on January 31st. And you can find out more at folsom.ca.us/fireworks. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. Council comments.
Well, can I just say, City Manager Elaine Anderson, that as a restaurant owner, I am so appreciative of having these bins for cardboard, because I am just blown away that my little tiny small restaurant produces so much cardboard, and having to only go a few blocks to be able to take it there is really awesome. So I thank the city for that.
Yeah, I just want to thank the men and women of our solid waste division and recycling division are truly outstanding.
Yeah, they do a great job. Well, I look forward to the State of the City this Thursday to hear what Mayor Kozlowski has laid out for the year. And I want to give a little, just a little stories about the railroad. I'm a big railroad aficionado, and I think I always owed it because I grew up in the city. So whenever I went outside the city, I love trains. To me, I find them incredibly some just powerful, tools that we use for transportation. And so I was really intrigued when a cousin of mine gave me a photo of my mom's dad, who used to immigrate to this country on a yearly basis. And there's a photo that surfaced of him in Syracuse, New York, when he came to work on the railroads. And so, it's really neat to see a picture like that. And that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you. Nothing? Okay. YK? Any other comments?
Quick ones. CAPS, Citizens Assisted Public Safety. We are seeking applications. Folsom, I'm looking at the camera here. So we love to have volunteership. Even though you don't have to give a commitment, join the program and understand it's a wonderful 3 months every Wednesday evening after work program. Join us. We love to have you as a volunteer and contributor to our public safety. The other one is, maybe this is for our city manager. I should have asked differently. I know people were talking about the Folsom Boulevard and how long it is going to be closed. We probably, I don't know whether I'm just saying it, whether we can send them one more, the newsletter one, when we send the physical or the electronic, give them the timelines this long, the Folsom Boulevard is going to be closed.
Yeah, we've been working, of course, the city project is done, but we have
Yeah.
been working with our partners at Regional Transit to continue to encourage them to educate the public on what's going on, including timelines and offering means of contact. So yes,
Right.
we'll continue to do that.
It's
absolutely.
continue doing that one. Sometimes, it's a frustration, especially those last minute getting out of the bus, getting out of the car, dropping the kids. That's one. And best wishes for our state of the city speech and looking
Thanks for
forward.
the extra pressure.
Pressure,
Jeez.
yes.
No, no, no.
Love pressure.
You're casual. Thank you. And again, Folsom, good night, and watch our mayor's state of the city.
All right, Mrs. Vice Mayor.
I had an opportunity today to participate in kind of a little brainstorming session, I guess you call it, with Dignity Health regarding their first medical office building that's planned for Folsom Ranch. They are calling it an advanced ambulatory health center. And the way they described it is that the patient experience is a little bit more intense. It's not just going for regular primary care checkup. So it would have a surgery center, including 5 surgical rooms, cancer infusion center, urgent care center, advanced imaging, and then physicians' offices. So they kind of just kind of showed us maybe some ideas in terms of architecture and what we would want to see in terms of, natural light and public art and maybe some outdoor garden spaces or things like that. So that was very interesting. And I think the group is going to reconvene in April when they have some things to show us. And then Brittany Bressler from Dignity talked about possibly a summertime groundbreaking. So
Wow.
lots of good stuff to come. Yeah. And then I asked them to do that topping off ceremony or whatever that UC Davis did that you got to go to and I was out of town, but where you
Put a
sign the
tree on
beam
top of
and
the steel.
you sign the beam and put the thing up. So anyway,
Very good. Excellent. Just 2 quick things. SACOG, we kicked off the structure for a new joint powers authority, since we're talking about a bunch of them tonight, in order to handle toll revenue that will come from the managed lanes that will eventually be on Highway 80 from West Sacramento to Davis. So that's happening in some near future. And then congratulations one more time to the Folsom Bulldogs state champion football team. They're going to have a rally at the amphitheater tomorrow evening. Be there, I'm sure, for some fun. All right. Thank you very much. And with that, we are adjourned.
Awesome.